open summer school registration, noting the program will be fully remote. For many families, balancing remote school and work can be challenging, but not everyone can work from home. And for those parents, this can be difficult.
I only work 2 days a week now because that seems to be the only way that I can find a good balance between helping the kids with their school, still doing my job, and not losing my mind.
The Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario has said in-person instruction is the best and most equitable experience, but must be done safely. To make that happen, it's asking the Ford government to meet a list of demands, including reducing class sizes, funding for N95 masks and improvements to ventilation and air filtration, more COVID testing, paid sick leave, and financial support for families who need it during lockdown.
I'm hoping that should schools not open in June because of safety, that school boards will implement a teaching strategy that considers the loss of in-person learning time.
For Larissa's family, September signals a fresh start.
I think we just need to have a really solid school year next year.
Karen Lieberman, Global News.
New data finds that 1 out of every 66 international passengers arriving at Toronto's Pearson Airport tests positive for COVID-19.
It's 1.5%.
The information comes from the Public Health Agency of Canada.
More than 5,000 people had a positive result after flying here since the mandatory hotel quarantine was put in place in late February. Almost 3,800 of those were found to have COVID the day they landed. Another 1,411 were found to be positive on the test required days after arriving. And variants of concern or interest were found in 1/3 of those people, mostly B.1.1.7, first identified in the United Kingdom.
And these findings come despite the fact passengers are required to show a negative COVID-19 test.
I got the Captain Picard setup up in this bitch
before they board their plane.
I got my keyboard as an armrest, everything. I got Worf at the back with the photon torpedoes.
Fatally shot. The victim's boyfriend is now on trial for her murder. Crime specialist Catherine McDonald spent the day at the trial for Joseph Chang.
It was 5 a.m. on March 5th, 2018, when Alicia Lewandowski was gunned down in the parking lot outside the Rathburn Road town.
5-year-old Humber College student from Mississauga was fatally shot. The victim's boyfriend is now on trial for her murder. Crime specialist Catherine McDonald spent the day at the trial for Joseph Chang.
It was 5 a.m. on March 5th, 2018, when Alicia Lewandowski was gunned down in the parking lot outside the Rathburn Road townhouse, where the 25-year-old lived with her mother. On day 2 of the murder trial for Joseph Chang, Alicia's 39-year-old boyfriend, court heard from the victim's mother, Mira Lewandowski, who said she worried about her daughter's boyfriend of 4 years and begged her to end it, especially because Alicia struggled with substance abuse. Lewandowski testified her older daughter, Natalie, said, "Mom, do you know he's a drug dealer? I was devastated. Obviously, having a child who has that problem, it's the last person you want them in a relationship with." Natalie Lewandowski, who is not testifying, spoke to us outside of court.
To say that we were concerned, absolutely. We were terrified for her. We didn't know what was happening. We weren't allowed to know where they were living or where they were staying.
Court heard that in July 2016, police were called to an apartment in Toronto where the couple lived, and Chang was charged with assault. Lewandowski testified as part of Chang's bail conditions, he had to live with a cousin. Chang also had a no-contact order with Alicia, but they continued to see one another. Just 2 nights before the murder, her mother testified that her daughter went to go see Chang to give him a birthday gift, concerned because he was not answering his phone. When her daughter arrived, she texted her mother and said that he wasn't answering his door. Her mother jokingly wrote back, "Why don't you call the police?" Quote, "She did call police. I was shocked. I spoke to her early Saturday morning on the phone. She's crying her eyes out. She said he came to the door and he said, 'Get away or I'm going to put a bullet to your head.' I went into a panic and I said, 'Alicia, get away from there. He's going to kill you.'" Alicia returned to Mississauga that night, visibly upset. Her mother testified Alicia later got a call from police who asked if she had seen Chang. 2 days later, she was dead.
It is so difficult to get out. And Alicia was trying. This was her attempt to get out and, to her own demise.
Joseph Chang, who remains in custody, has pleaded not guilty. Catherine McDonald, Global News.
This is a great story for the media to go look at how horrible this is, but what is actually being done?
Posing for a picture with Donald Trump.
Susanna Rogers says she regrets that her action caused anyone to question her values or commitment to her causes. The photo of her and her family with the former U.S. president drew criticism from the fashion program that bears her name.
The fashion.
Rogers says she doesn't have any kind of relationship with Trump. Had never met him before that night. She goes on to say that, quote, no political statement on any policy was intended by the photograph. The university was accused of censorship after a post criticizing that photo from the School of Fashion was deleted and replaced.
After the break, we hear from a Milton man whose car showed up 90 kilometers away from a Nissan dealership. He thought it had to be stolen. Consumer reporter Sean O'Shea has more on what really happened. That's next.
Were you let go from your job as an independent contractor? You need employmentlawyer.ca. Many employees are misclassified as contractors, meaning you are still owed severance pay when your employment is terminated.
So if you follow along, you'll notice I'll do like 10 videos in a row that cut out after 20 minutes. And then if I pass out, apparently it'll run for fucking all day. I don't know, did we wear out the people stalking and attacking us, I guess? So I was kind of hoping there'd be some more news about viruses and so forth. They only covered that for about a minute, eh?
10K run for kids.
So what'd they say? 1 out of 66 people? I think that's 1.5%. Yeah, it should be about 1.5% testing positive.
Toronto.com and click.
And what I'm thinking is, when there's a forest fire in California, BC, or Quebec, after about 24 hours, we can smell it here and even see it in the sky. There's bodies being burnt everywhere. Now, crematoriums exist already all the time, and there's more bodies being burnt now, but they're not being burnt properly. It's like an engine not burning clean, incomplete combustion, unburned hydrocarbons and all that. You're going to smell this, and it's going to start to affect your brain without you being consciously aware of what the smell is.
Job if it wasn't for ZipRecruiter.
With ZipRecruiter, we've hired everyone from accountants to project managers to field scientists. With ZipRecruiter, we get hiring results.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.ca/Canada. That's ZipRecruiter.ca/Canada. ZipRecruiter.ca/Canada.
So, our mortgage approval is done?
Great news. The bank has approved you at a 1.55% rate.
What the what? That's way too high. Butler Mortgage is 1.15%.
Well, it cannot be the same as our bank's mortgage.
It's totally the same. 5-year variable rate, same features, no fees, 1.15%. I'm switching to Butler Mortgage. Enough of making the banks rich.
License number 12118, high ratio variable rate, APR 1.16%.
Dads, we all got one. Close the fridge door, will ya? You're letting all the cold air out.
Always trying to save a buck or two around the house.
Are you almost done in there? You've been running the water for 20 minutes.
At LG Home Comfort, they're dads too, and moms, so they understand saving money on energy. That's why if you're an Ontario homeowner, your first and last call should be to LG Home Comfort for your heating, cooling, and water needs. So get a tankless water heater and save on that 20-minute shower or flip on that air conditioner. Visit lghomecomfort.ca to learn more.
Are you faced with a severance offer deadline? You need employmentlawyer.ca. Severance deadlines are irrelevant and are used as a pressure tactic. Make sure that offer is fair before you sign. Call Lior Samfiru and get what you're owed. Employmentlawyer.ca.
Leave it overnight. You expect it's going to be safe and sound. But what if you found out that the car wasn't where you thought it would be? What would you think?
Well, that is exactly what happened to a Milton man who discovered, thanks to his insurance app, that the car was far away and being driven at a pretty high rate of speed. Don O'Shea has this story.
It all started with a faulty backup camera and a trip to this Nissan dealership. They said that they needed to keep the car probably for a couple of days, and they offered me a loaner, and I said, sure. An experience that ended with Frank Staddy calling police later that night. Well, my initial thought was, yeah, maybe somebody stole the thing.
Wait till the end of the story.
Dude, where's my car? Staddy thought the worst when he checked the new tracking app on his phone. He just agreed to let his new insurance company monitor his driving. He could also see his car remotely, and it was far from the Nissan dealership. We called the police, and they were flabbergasted as well. The Ultima was traveling well above the speed limit on Highway 401. At one point, reaching 148 kilometers per hour. Destination, 90 kilometers away. Police found Statty's car on this street in Woodstock. Turns out it wasn't stolen after all. It was driven here by a dealership employee. When Statty went back to the dealership for an explanation from the service manager the next day, he didn't get an apology. Instead, Statty says he was blamed. He kicked me out of the office and he said that he was going to call the police, that I was tracking his employee legally.
I had permission to take the vehicle home, and we informed it was out of town, and there's 3 witnesses to that.
Statty says he didn't authorize the dealership to let its service technician drive the car home, let alone make a
all these people that would be homeless and starving if I didn't.
No,
they'll all swear that I didn't do it.
That was, that was for a couple seconds. I agree, and I don't know. Again, I wasn't driving it, so I cannot answer that question.
Technicians do sometimes take vehicles home with permission so they can road test for problems. Nissan Canada told us it's now arranging for another dealership to repair Statty's rear camera.
Was he doing 150 in reverse to check the camera?
We don't know what these mechanics and dealerships are doing with their car. He's left with a camera that doesn't work after a mechanic's high-speed road trip, one that may have his insurance company believing he's a driver who takes risks.
That's stunt driving. 150 is stunt drive. Well, 50 over the limit is stunt driving.
Still kind of dreary out there, low clouds, overcast conditions, but at least most of the rain has stopped. Coming up, I'll tell you if there are more showers in the forecast.
So they didn't cover it on this broadcast, but about 2 hours ago, we heard them say he told them.
I have a good reason for paging me 911.
Find out whether
he told them, if you unplug this little thing here, just don't lose it. The tracking device from the insurance company, he said, if you unplug this thing, don't lose it. So they knew the car was being tracked by insurance and GPS. If you unplug the GPS tracker, don't lose it. That's what the guy told them. Idiot left it plugged in. This is somebody who became an automotive service tech. I'm going to tell you some, 2004 and 2006, I think. So 2 different times I got accepted. I didn't end up going to Centennial College Automotive Service Tech. 700 applicants, only 200 spots. And twice I was accepted, but I didn't go through with it. But the point is, it's all electronics and computers now. It's all it has been for a long time. You don't get that job. Working for a dealership without knowing. There's no plausible deniability. Oh, I didn't know. You're tracking me illegally.
When the sun is rising,
they tried to bully somebody.
There's no better way to start the day than a good old.
Starting to clear up a bit, which is good news. MTO couldn't spot anything. So again, West 401 is heavy for Mavis and the Express to Mississauga Road, but it is starting to ease. On the eastbound 401, no major slowdowns, and that debris approaching Brock Road and the collectors has been cleared away. So good news there. Don't have to worry about that anymore. From the 680 Traffic Center, here's Carlin Donahue.
We have a collision right now. It's on the northbound DVP approaching Lawrence. It's on the left shoulder, but it is actually, as I just look over at the camera, it's gone now, so we don't have that to deal with. And once again, northbound DVP, there was a collision approaching Lawrence on the left shoulder. Now it is gone, but we've just got delays left over from approaching Eglinton just to Lawrence. So it's regular volume through that stretch. We just have delays otherwise on the northbound 410, north of Steeles to north of Queen. And on City Streets, an update here on this closure. Here, Ontario shut down both directions between Central Parkway and Burnhamthorpe, and that is for a collision investigation. It's time for new members only. With live chat to help serve drivers on and off the road. Visit 407atr.com. Now the forecast. Here's Natasha Ramsahai.
Well, I'm telling you, this cloud loves our city. It is sticking around tonight, tomorrow morning with some foggy and misty conditions, and then some drizzle to start off tomorrow morning at 8 degrees. Finally, we'll get some sunny breaks late tomorrow afternoon with a high of 13 degrees. Watch the wind. It's gusting up to 50 kilometers per hour, and then we clear out Wednesday night. So that means a lot of sun Thursday morning. Increasing cloud could squeeze out some late day showers at 13 degrees, and we're in for a partly cloudy Friday at 12 degrees. Overnight tonight down to a low of 8 degrees. We're almost there. We're at 9 degrees right now at Pearson.
Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we have breaking news from Mississauga. Child rushed to hospital in life-threatening condition after they're hit by a vehicle. And here, Ontario's close south of Burnhamthorpe for the investigation. We also have breaking news on that COVID outbreak at the Crown Plaza Hotel near Pearson. Toronto Public Health confirming there are 13 confirmed cases now of the virus and staff members. This is 680 News.
Because all these people keep doing the exact same thing. I'm going to do things that make you sick. If I get sick, it's your fault. You all think you're immune. I'm the higher, more supreme race, therefore it won't hurt me. You're all doing the same thing. And the funniest thing in the world to me, white supremacists that aren't white. That's the funniest thing in the world to me. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, mixed feelings about that. As a kid, I wouldn't like it, but maybe that means there'll be more of those at-home learning days that they're called now. Snow, I don't even want to talk about it. Let's talk about the lack of rain or the end
This
of
is
the
what
rain.
it's called now. That's what it's called now. Because they changed the law, so you don't have to mandatory put your kids in.
During the afternoon,
There's nothing new.
Later in
Everybody
the day
keeps
we
pretending
go,
like
the more
something changed.
chance
Nothing
of
changed.
sunshine, and that temperature dropping off to 8 degrees by late evening. Across Canada, it is rather cool. In fact, in most locations, the warm spot, Vancouver at 14 degrees only. So where is the heat? Well, it's not coming back anytime soon. We are in this pattern for at least the next week. So temperatures just making it into the
low incomes, people living in those multi-generational houses. So because of this fact,
All housing is multi-generational unless you live by yourself. Find me a child that lives by themselves. Right. Parents that live by themselves. Right. Right. They're all multi-generational. Oh, these immigrants and dark-skinned people live in multi-generational housing. Really?
Did you miss filing your taxes?
Because they can afford the bigger house to put more people in, right? That makes a lot of sense. The poor people are the ones renting out the bigger house to fit all their generations in, right? That makes a lot of sense. You're fucking stupid if you believe that. You're fucking retarded, brain dead, and crack addicted if you believe that. Because it's these immigrants and racialized. You know what racialized means? It means white people said you're a different race. That's what racialized means. You self-identify as the words they call you.
Is when we see
you are whitewashing yourself. You're a bootlicker.
Overnight lows, not the best news for those that are wanting their garden to.
They live in multi-generational housing.
For at least the next week. There is
more than anybody else, but a white guy said it. So now you're preaching like it's true.
11 degrees by 11 p.m. tonight. A mild evening for that dog walk. This is Boomer in Oakville. Alan, Farah, May the 4th be with you.
Oh, so cute. All right, thanks. You too. A new option to get rid of dog waste is being tested here in Toronto. We're going to have this.
Not really. They've been doing this for years.
This spring on Showcase.
You can now put it in a garbage can.
Found in our town. From the creator of The Good Place at Parks and Recreation.
Nathan, I'm calling to request a response to Mayor Chisenhall's decision to move Big Larry. I'm sorry, what?
Labyrinth.
Diamonds are a thing. Over the past couple of years, experts have come up with a way to create diamonds.
Experts have come up with a way. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Diamond experts did not come up with this, you fucking retard.
To the ones that are pulled out of the ground.
Pulled out of the ground, right.
A lot cheaper. Pandora CEO told the BBC.
Because now that natives are getting paid for the Ring of Fire, they no longer, no, diamonds are bad. Now that we rigged it so that we get the money we're supposed to get from this diamond mine, they won't buy the diamonds anymore.
Also the case,
Think about that.
The pandemic and changing demographics have really taken a toll on the mining industry.
Remember the guy in the Spence Diamond commercials?
Last year, according to
And the very last commercial, they only ran it once. He went to Colorado. And from here on out, he's going to be making synthetic diamonds, and then you've never heard of him again.
All right, the equity markets, no, they were not shining like diamonds today. The TSX.
Oh, diamonds don't shine, stupid.
To 19,000. Power, big decliner, down 19.5%.
They bling and glitter.
Health was down 10.7% at $34.45. On Wall Street, the Dow closed higher, managed to gain thanks to a last-minute rally, up 19 points to 34,000.
You know what they're not going to do? Synthesize industrial diamonds. Why would you synthesize industrial diamonds? So it's not the future, is it?
Close better than expected. Smaller than forecast loss, 35 cents per share. 7 cents, 609 million. Active riders, 13.4 million. Stock is higher. Canadian dollar down 8.
Couple drinks nowadays.
Well, I was hoping we would get something useful out of the news, and we didn't.
Get ready to dip.
Carter and Farah Nasser, and your weather with meteorologist Anthony Farnell.
Experts have found a way, so this is no different than with the tar sands. Oh, we found a new high technology way of extracting the oil. What, heating it up and letting it drip into a pipe like you've been doing since 1970? Yeah, 1970, they knew how to get the oil out of the tar sands. The result of all their work and studies was the price of gasoline, the retail price of gasoline will have to hit $1 a liter in order for them to make money extracting the oil. What did they change? Nothing. Now they want, so first of all, when you use tailing ponds to dump water, you're required to set aside the money to clean those up later. And then they spent the money. Then the government gave the money to clean it up, and they spent the money. Now they're asking for the money to clean up the tailing ponds a third time.
Result of a pilot project. Now, this idea is to keep more nasty refuse in its own bin, and of course, out
nasty refuse. It's nasty.
Park next to
refuse.
My
It's not even
too,
refuse.
It's
Organic
finally, tonight we leave you with some uplifting news from San Francisco.
Now, libraries are typically
home of the double hybrid variant.
But when the city's main library opened its doors for the first time since the start of the pandemic.
That's so special. That's so special. You're all going to get sick and die.
Standing ovation from library employees as people were allowed in for the first time in well
revealed more
over
information about a COVID-19 outbreak at the Crown Plaza Hotel near Pearson Airport. TPH saying tonight 13
The
people
Crown Plaza. The Corona Plaza. The Corona Plaza.
And Central Parkway after a child was struck by
You think the government's not playing games?
Hugs are back for long-term care residents. The province is loosening restrictions on homes as vaccination rates rise.
Yes, because 70% of the people in the long-term care homes have been vaccinated. Oh, yeah. And somehow, because now they can only spread it asymptomatically, that makes them all safe. No, it doesn't. 5,000 people that were fully vaccinated in the U.S. got COVID or whatever variant, and something like 80 of them died after being fully vaccinated. And the whole time, while you're dying, you are spreading it asymptomatically. That's what your vaccine does. It suppresses it enough that people don't realize you're sick. It suppresses your sickness behavior. And it will mutate and mutate and mutate because it's passing from person to person to person still. And by the way, this virus goes from animal to animal to animal to person. Vaccinating all the humans won't change anything because it's still out there mutating. And whose fault is that? Putting bats on top of ducks, on top of civets? Right. Dumb fucking retarded fucking poachers. And this is why it's not murder to kill a poacher. The poacher is the murderer. You're stopping a murder of the whole planet.
Collision at St. Clair and Runnymede. So they said it's down to a single lane getting through both east and westbound on St. Clair. I can see minor delays in the
There's
area.
only one lane there anyway.
Jarvis is closed from Queens Quay to the Esplanade, and that's due to construction long term. And then southbound McCowan approaching Shepherd, it's down to a single lane getting through due to construction. Only the right lane open, and that's causing a delay southbound on McCowan from south of Huntingwood to approaching Shepherd. Searching
the Corona Plaza Hotel. The Corona Plaza Hotel. And that's the one with the outbreak. Isn't that a coincidence? What's the government of Canada called? The Crown.
And it's going to keep us on the mild side in terms of an overnight low down to 8 degrees. Misty, foggy, drizzly as well. So a damp start in the morning, and then we'll get some sunny breaks in the afternoon. The wind out of the northwest, gusty up to 50 kilometers per hour. Tomorrow's high still slightly below seasonal at 13 degrees. Tonight we're down to a low of 8 degrees. It is currently 9 degrees at Pearson.
This is 680 News.
So on these videos, you're going to catch the mice digging up this hole. If you just let it run all the way to the end.
There are 13 confirmed cases of the virus among staff at the hotel. TPH says it conducted an inspection of the hotel this morning and has provided instructions to the affected staff members and their close contacts.
Provided instructions.
Health officials say because
but they didn't contact their close contacts. They told the infected people to. You're in the ICU dying, and public health says you need to call all your friends.
Partial closure. Public Health Canada
it's very important.
An on-site inspection found that the measures and infection prevention and control were being followed, but it identified areas for improvement, including reducing lunchroom capacity, putting up more signs,
lunchroom,
and centralized.
You have a lunchroom and you're using it? Wow, you're fucking stupid.
And we bring
You're fucking retarded.
Where a child has suffered life-threatening injuries after being struck by a vehicle. It happened shortly after 5:30 near here, Ontario and Elm Drive. Peel police say the driver remained on scene. There is no age for the child right now. They will only say it was a young child involved. Here, Ontario is closed between Burnhamthorpe and Central Parkway for the investigation.
This is 680 News. Support government loosening pandemic restrictions placed on long-term care homes and at-home learning will again be an option for Ontario students come September 1.
They are not created equal. And so if you
it will again be an option
or the Moderna shot,
because it wasn't before. Before you had to get your kid filled with vaccines and send them to school. No, you didn't. It's not written in the law anywhere.
The actual answer.
It's not written in the law anywhere. There's no curfew for people under 16. The age of consent from 1895 to 2005 was not 60. There's all these rules people make up. Oh, online learning will be available. It's been available 20 years. The Independent Learning Center, the correspondence, and they're required to offer it because they cannot make it mandatory for you to register your kid. It's a district school board. They have no authority over anything. They cannot force you to get vaccinated against anything.
Suggesting that there are two.
And I don't know how much of my health problems is caused by the Hep C vaccine or any of the other vaccines. What I do know, I might have had like 5 or 6 shots in my life. Kids in California have 36 in the first 18 months, and they're all fucking retarded and fucked up on meth when they grow up, aren't they? I also know I was forced onto meth in a children's psych ward, which shouldn't exist, a children's psychiatric hospital, and the hope I would become a meth head didn't work. Oh, because it's known that when you give stimulants to a child, they work in reverse. It's written in the books like that. If you give methamphetamine to a child, it will calm them down. That's what it says in the books.
Well, I mean, getting creative is.
Do you know why EpiPens are $600 fucking dollars? Because meth heads know that epinephrine metabolizes into methamphetamine, and so does the company that sells the EpiPens. Yeah, that's why it's $600. They want the meth head money.
Quash, who's the same doctor here, she's already admitted that delaying shots by 4 months, which is what Canada is doing, and we're the only country extending the delay between shots, is only being done because we don't have enough supply. So she had admit already.
Yeah, that was their genius. If we don't have enough, we'll just give everybody less. Canada.
And she made clear that if she had a different way of doing it, she wouldn't be doing it. She wasn't really comfortable with it. And now,
white people
the
logic.
doctor's saying that the best shot, well, not necessarily.
White people logic. Something like 100 and some years ago, they had potatoes stored up in I want to call it a granary. It wasn't grain, it was potatoes for seed, right? And to make sure nobody ate them, they doused them all with kerosene. Yeah, so it killed them all. Just to make sure nobody eats the seed potato, right? Not seed, but you know, the eyes. That's Canada. That is Canada.
Eat whatever cake they get. And sure, the Prime Minister got the AstraZeneca shot. So did Aaron O'Toole. So did a lot of people. They've eaten the crumbs. But even that, I don't think will undo the damage that has been done. Because it was clear today that neither Trudeau or Tam during their press conference, they didn't want to throw Massey under the bus. But then after Trudeau left the press conference, Tam added more to this vaccine vexation, saying that they're going to now get further advice on second doses for AZ.
So I'm not sure why this runs a half hour and then an hour of advertising, then back to this show.
Those who got the first shot may not get a second shot of AZ. Maybe we'll be getting something totally different, which means then we're
guess what? It doesn't do anything at all.
This means those in charge are
the antibodies don't last. They last 3 to 6 months. We knew that a year ago. 3 to 6 months
there
max.
Have been no studies done to suggest that it can be done.
3 to 6 months max. So I was sick in March. Somebody spat on my face on the 14th. Doug from the Salvation Army over here, who misspells his name. You gotta love people that anytime they're around vulnerable people, they want to cover their face, pretend they're somebody different. They always pretend they're in charge when they're not, and they misspell their name. Yeah. Same dude that's been trying to touch me for 3 fucking years got finally fucking flipped the fuck out, spit in my face, and punched me in the fucking spleen. Oh, yeah. The police have already been called. Yeah, I'm calling the cops right now. You had another incident where nobody got charged for assaulting me. But if I had stuck around, I would have been charged with getting assaulted by white people. Oh, yeah. I'm on 6 counts of it right now.
Their job is to inform the public on.
That was March. So a month later, April, let's say 14th, to so that's 4 months. To November 14th would be 7.5 months. I got the variant, right? The antibodies only last 6 months.
This talking point right here has a.
And they don't match up with all the variants.
The best vaccine for you to take?
It's right here. Hey, do your lungs bleed normally? Mine do. Oh, therefore you're weaker, so you won't get the ICU. So it's your fault that I'm getting sick. Okay, well, you people keep swearing that up and down. There are what, 4 million dead people so far, or something like that? Telling me that I'm inferior, so I don't deserve medical treatment. So for a year now, I've been getting denied, well, even before that, I've been getting denied any medical treatment. I'm not allowed to have a blood test. Why? Because niggers don't deserve blood tests for having white people blood thrown in their face. Okay. Hindustani doctor in the fucking Toronto South. So I know India has a lot of, they're incredibly advanced in medicine, but the Hindustanis that come here are racist as hell against First Nations and black, period. They fucking hate us. You stole the word Indian because you're a thief. Yeah. You started using the word in 1949. We started using the word in 1508. We stole it from you. You're a temporary foreign worker here that displaces 1 for 1, 350,000 temporary foreign workers, 350,000 Canadians on unemployment insurance at any one time in this country over the last 20 years. It's been like that. I'm the thief on my own land. There are rip open packages of my food I'm trying to buy. Try walking off with it in the store. No, I'm buying that. That's mine. I'm taking it and leaving it. And I know you people think you're smart. You all end up getting fired doing that shit. You got your white friends in the lineups go, he made it racial. He made it racial. No, I didn't call the gang Asian assassins, did I? They did that. And they're not Asian, so that's not my fault either. What am I going on about? Oh, well, there's a whole bunch of racist people in this country. All
It has eased off. We got a crash to avoid, though, in town. It's on St. Clair, west of Runnymede. CPP Investments helps to ensure the CPP fund remains sustainable and secure for millions of Canadians. Visit cppinvestments.com. I'm Ari Urbanovich, Global News Radio, 640 Toronto Chopper Traffic.
This spring on Showcase.
My patriarchal ancestor, Lawrence Rutherford, found in our
is completely shut down both directions.
I'm not allowed to have a blood test because the only thing they can test for is HIV. You can't get HIV. So
unfortunately, someone was struck by a vehicle, so this is gonna be a lengthy closure. We also have St. Clair east and westbound.
Unfortunately, somebody was struck. Unfortunately, somebody was struck. Split infinitive, almost. So this is going to be a long. Unfortunately, it's going to be a long closure.
And that's for some long-term maintenance. And then we have southbound McAllen approaching Shepherd down to a single right lane getting through for construction.
So Chomo upstairs called the police, then threw blood in my face. Then my first contact with police was with some gang unit that had cameras on, even though the media will insist, no, they didn't have cameras. Yes, they did. Plus 6 cameras to capture the incident, plus my phone. Okay, there's video of all this shit. And the first thing the police go on about is how I don't, the first thing is they're going on and on about not charging them. Then the second thing is about, I don't need an HIV test. Really? Okay. The doctor of the South started off and say, oh, you don't need it. You're not getting an HIV test. The only way to get an HIV test is blah, blah, blah. It's like, I didn't say HIV. You did. That's twice now. The authorities have started. Oh, well, you can't get HIV this way. HIV. Why do you people keep telling me HIV after this dude threw blood in my face? And I've been getting denied health care all the way along.
Good. Hiring can be challenging, but
this is where people hate this. Reality prevails. Congolese have HIV resistance in their DNA. You people keep telling me I'm a white South African. I keep telling you I'm black, and from what I can tell, on one side of the family, the blood must come from Congo. You hate that. You threw HIV blood in my face, and I still didn't die. And it wasn't HIV blood, how come every authority figure starts off talking about HIV before I mention it?
To project managers to field scientists. With ZipRecruiter, we get hired.
I can catch B19 from blood-on-blood contact. In fact, I did. You can get hepatitis C that way. You can get any number of things that way. All sorts of things you can get that way. And they're going on about HIV. Which doesn't make sense because it's not the biggest, most contagious, worst public health threat out there. And medications can have you living as long as anybody else. Right. So why are they focused on an HIV? Because Buddy must have it. Why? Because he's a South African rapist that lied to come to Canada. He's been fucking following me and my friends around since about 1990 at the CAMH at 1001 Queen. So I know you people keep telling me, oh, he knows me because I did something to him. Yeah, when I was 3 years old, I seduced him, you fucking idiots. That's Canada. You owe sex to adults. That's the way they raise children here.
Toronto, never afraid to come.
Remember, he ain't even from this country.
Flake the two together. It's not true, and it's dangerous.
He's as Aryan as it gets, crossed with like Hindustani, Indonesian, something. East Indies, there's the word. Blood. Presenting himself as black somehow. I'm not black, but I got sickle cell. No, you're white. White people get sickle cell and black. It's complete inversion. These are the same people trying to claim our Capital Trust accounts with no connection to them. $2 trillion in accounts. What's our national debt? About $1 trillion and change. And the Supreme Court ruled in 2014 they must turn the money over to us. You complain about the price of lumber? Well, where's our cut? It's our lumber. No, you're not allowed to buy lumber from anybody but the government. You're not allowed to do business with us. The government takes the fee for us and is supposed to give it to us, and they don't. So please stop babbling about how you paid. No, you didn't. And don't talk about how your taxes you pay for anything. No. Income taxes were brought out for World War I. What pays for everything? Well, this is a wealthy fucking country. Nobody wants to admit that. They keep charging you taxes because you're willing to keep paying it. Where does money come from in Canada? The budget process. When they write the budget, that money's created, the same as a GST credit. It's not a check. If you call it a GST check, you are betraying your ignorance. It's a payment warrant. As soon as you endorse it, the money is created. That $90 didn't exist until you signed it. It's not money they're transferring to you. It's being created when you sign it. That's how the budget process works here.
He pretty much did everything in his power today not to undermine what his scientists at NACI said, which is that if you can take something else than maybe AstraZeneca or Johnson & Johnson, do so. It's not that they said it's unsafe, but they did say they have a preference for the mRNA shots. And this is after comments that NACI said, you know, we're only delaying shots because we don't have enough shots. So again, these changes being made really ends up undermining.
Since we don't have enough, we're going to ruin what we do have.
In a vaccine rollout that we need confidence
That's the
in.
white people logic.
Amir Adran into this conversation, professor, of course, of law and medicine at the University of Ottawa, also a trained.
So the reason they're allowed to keep dumping mercury on our land is because they've been dumping it for so long, it's poisoned us anyway, so it's okay. You're less likely to survive in the ICU, so you don't get the bed. Really? You're less likely to survive. How is that? If you've done everything you can to kill us off, and I'm walking, surviving, cancer, AIDS, mercury, formaldehyde, arsenic, cyanide, and a whole bunch of other things, how is it I'm less likely to survive? You try every day to choke me out and suffocate me with bad air, and you get mad that I notice. These people get visibly mad when I notice that they're spraying things in the building and shit. They get fucking angry. You're not supposed to notice. You know why you don't notice? Because you've been spraying this shit around yourself so much your fucking olfactory senses stop working.
Confidence because of this.
Yeah, I mean, I got mine last Thursday, and I mean, had I heard this announcement, I probably would have held off. But again, the message has been all along, the best vaccination is the first one offered to you. And yet, what
the government had justified my being picky. I would have been.
That there's a two-tier system for the
vaccine. But I'm a good person, so I did what they told me to the first time.
And
remember, there's no way to know if she's telling the truth or not. It's no different than voting. There's no way to know if she's telling the truth or not.
Crumbs, you take the crumbs, and so I think a lot of people will be looking at this saying, well, what do I do now? Do I just not take it? Do I wait? And that's not the message we want to be sending out.
And it's not helpful for people who are trying to make a decision right now. That's my biggest worry. If I were not vaccinated and I were hearing this, I would truly not know what to do anymore. So maybe we should review what to do. You think so?
Yeah. Well, that is true. The other thing, though, is, and then Dr. Tam, I mean, it was very obvious that Mr. Trudeau, Dr. Tam wanted to undermine NASA.
I can only imagine
we now
Buddy
have a
must
pretty
have
good
died
idea
last
of why Stephen Harper did not let the scientists talk publicly.
Same thing happened 2 weeks ago. He disappeared for 2.5 days.
Undermining of the message, because what public health's job is to do is to put out a cohesive, very clear, very simple message that educates people on what they need to know about important matters. Now we've got scientists weighing in and undermining
of
the
whatever
process.
city
They may
or
not
county
mean
level
to,
government.
but you know, then we
got
get
it
Dr.
wrong.
Tam coming
Public
out
health is in charge of
we're
public
gonna do
relations.
More, research
and public
to try to
relations
find
is
out
in
about
charge
these
of public
second
health.
doses. And so it sounds to me like anybody who got an AZ shot might not even be getting the same second shot as an AZ, which takes us into mixing up the vaccines kind
now,
of
what if you get an mRNA
right.
and a vector, whatever?
You know, let me do something here just to clear up some of the mud for people. The people who haven't been vaccinated yet. I'm going to try and make it very, very simple.
Remember, they've got so many leftover doses. They're doing pop-up
a few
clinics
weeks
everywhere,
or perhaps a few months, or a Pfizer. And
they created a false scarcity.
If you feel
to scare people into having to go, I'm going to line up all day to get this because it's running out.
You want to get
30,000 doses left over.
Vaccine or the AstraZeneca vaccine, go ahead with that too, because while there is,
do you know why they're waiting to tell us about this contaminated Johnson & Johnson vaccine?
There's always a risk of COVID if you're unprotected. And so
really everybody knows this since the early days of COVID.
Comfort. It comes down
back
to
when the COVID was really bad.
Are you more
back
comfortable running a risk of a blood clot than some 1 in 100,000 or even less? So
no, it's not. It's more. It's 1 in 40,000. Remember, they went from 1 in a million. Then they started saying 4 in a million, which is not a thing. It's 1 in 250,000.
That's your
They keep saying, it's 4 in a million. It's 1 in a million when it was 1 in 250,000. They say it's 1 in 40,000 in Europe, and they start saying, it's 1 in 100,000. No, it's not. It's 25 in a million, not 10. That's 250% more, 2.5 times more than what they said it was.
And certainly if you're in a hot zone, you're working in a manufacturing plant, or you have to work out of your house, you take what's going to keep you at least out of the hospital, which AstraZeneca does, and certainly millions of people in the UK
accepting that you will get infected and be asymptomatic and pass it on to somebody else.
So then what do you make then of fiddling around, let's say, and playing politics with second dosing? Because I think if they change the second dosing,
Ray Bradbury and Jules Verne.
There's going to be an awful lot of us, including myself, saying, well, why am I taking now a different vaccine when we do not have the research or the data to back up that that's okay?
And that's my biggest worry, Alex, is the government has been organizing vaccination while not seeing an inch beyond their faces. They've never thought about tomorrow. Their entire approach, and this is what I hate about their approach.
They are thinking about tomorrow. They're thinking if we get all these fucking people off the land, the Indian problem.
This isn't a scientific way of approaching things.
Trudeau white paper, 1969, the Indian problem.
Now, an AstraZeneca or a Johnson & Johnson, you do face the blood clots. It's very small. But with AstraZeneca, you face another risk. What if?
So the reason that they're holding back this Johnson & Johnson shipment to determine if it's been contaminated or not, they already know. They already know if it is or isn't. They're trying to create a false scarcity, and it's not working. We found out a week ago they have possession of this, and it may or may not be contaminated. You know what you do? Crack open a bottle and test it. Then you crack open 10 more. Either it's contaminated or it's not. Okay, so what are they waiting for? False scarcity, false narrative, dichotomy, false dichotomy, us against them and all that shit.
Are implicitly trusting the government to get a batch for the second doses, which the government doesn't seem very good at doing.
And certainly not when India is in crisis right now and they need all the AstraZeneca they can get.
The jet stream is 140 miles an hour.
You've been the predictor kind of all
around the world, nonstop.
I mean, this opens the government up to a whole lot of
smell that burning smell? No, you don't smell it, but it's making you crazy. You're thinking instinctively to run and get away, aren't you?
don't think it'll turn into that, and that's for complicated reasons of when you can and cannot sue government. But I will say this. I have no trust, not even the slightest amount of remaining trust in this government when it comes to science. And I certainly would never think of voting for them again. Well, I didn't the first time, but I would not recommend it now because they have not done the minimum homework that other governments have done to choose a course, steer wisely toward it, stay on course, and get the job done.
Right.
Britain has done a better job. The U.S. has done a better job. This government has failed at vaccination so many times. First, they failed to build up Canada's ability to manufacture vaccines, something that Britain did in a few months only last year. Then they tried to get a deal together with the Chinese company.
The system continues to be overwhelmed by the huge surge in cases of COVID-19.
The death rate in the country is expected to stay stubbornly high. Head of critical care at one hospital in New Delhi, Dr. Sumit Ray.
The government has to intervene in more ways than just providing oxygen. Oxygen is only one thing. What we need is surge capacity building. Quickly build up prefabricated hospitals with beds, ventilators, ICUs.
India's official count of COVID cases now over 20 million. The actual number thought to be far higher than that. Tom Rivers, ABC News at the Foreign Desk.
Business is next.
Streams of Truth, brought to you by Sportsnet Now.
Do you feel trapped with unreliable illegal sports streams? Stuck in the glitchy, pixelated wasteland of pirated sports? Well, the freedom that you deserve is now with Sportsnet Now.
Yes, the armpit of the hour, 54 minutes. They cover India. That's how you went from being the first story at the top of the hour to there's the 1 minute teasers, the first story in line in the teaser, and the first one after the weather to 54 minutes, the very last thing. Next is business at 56, and then almost always it's nothing. They might do like a 10-second blurb about something at that point at the most. I need to smooth this.
Safe, efficient, and friendly divorce. The team at Russell Alexander Family Lawyers accomplished it all and more. I was able to settle my divorce remotely and...
Oh, yeah, I got an idiot trying to chase me around with a cane outside. Again, with these canes. These guys get canes, and I'm going to swing it around and scream at you. Screaming at me that he needs to piss with his mouth open, blowing fucking spit at me. I did what anybody would do. I reached for my gardening tool. He wants to come at me spitting fluids. I'll make some fluids happen. No, it's a race trader issue. He's Micmac, I'm Micmac, but I'm black, and he hates that. And this is how you know people babble, babble, babble. I've known this guy like 5 years or some shit. Or more. All of a sudden, he knows I'm black, and he's angry. Ooh, I'm supposed to care. I'm supposed to care. So please stick with us, and the quality of the show will improve. I promise you. Even before and after. Don't present a false face. Generally speaking.
Don't sleep, no nigga. We are one. Won't matter who it is, bound to get the job done. The Canadians got the shooter behind me. She's the wide right. This is the 990s. So don't sleep, nigga. We are one. Don't matter who it is, bound to get the job done. On the same stage, running with the same click. Never gonna change, no nigga. Only change roles and the pool. But only if it's fucking up. Play some aim and niggas above the button. Going hard in the game, no patch of fucking up. Repack and flip that to get our shit up. Only other option is a stick up. Never a 9 to 5, cause I ain't got no day job. From the slums, little homie, where we play hard. If you don't wanna see the 30-30 when it sprays on. 20 people walk around 3/8 for the beat. The 40 to lick them down, the max for the DC. Heard niggas saying but they wanna make tracks with us. Before that, didn't even crack to us. Going hard in the booth, it's a takeover. Hard in the ground into your face, that's a makeover. 2-5 for a Q, the rest profit. Cause my city won't sleep. Tell them you're okay, fine. Reporter manager, can't afford to hear it.
So I've now been on bail. So my court date is next week. virtual court, whatever. Oh, someone's getting mad. I've now been on bail 23 months. 2 fucking years. Now, in that 23 months, the cops that charged me, don't see them around no more. What'd the RCMP tell you? Get the fuck out of their way, didn't they? 23 months.
You comparing to, I ain't finished my fair share yet, but I aired them just started. And I ain't talking about no jump shot, brush them off the top. You know the cold hurt my chest. Didn't think I was capable. 4-5 pipe up 100 traceable. Didn't think I was capable. 4-5 pipe up 100 traceable.
You niggas gon' ride something like a flat tire. Feel the fire at your back, it will be backfire. Cause my gas the same size as a blow dry. Never true in your raps, you some damn lies. Great job, make them spit through the wire. And you don't supply shit, you a buyer. I'm the king of gang rap, call me sire. That's it, for piping in you rate and admire. You rubber grip tight, no pliers. I gotta take you out, call it quits or retire. The floor thrown down, just flip them up. Bells only shell, so I'm switching up. Do something like a bus driver, still bus driver. Put your hands in your butt, niggas, stick them up. On the projects, money's no objects. So we finger foot max and we contact. Slide in, slide out, don't hold me right out. I go round that you don't count. We're standing up till I tell them sit down. Stomach on the ground, I see on your head and your blow. When I'm digging in your pants, you need ass in your grip. Off for the rest. You say take the weed, leave the gas.
So Chomo's big thing is to attack us on the hour. I guess we found him.
At least 13 staff at the Crown Plaza.
That's right. 2 minutes ago, I pressed the button.
September. We will not take risks with your child.
Yep, keep showing me my eyes. We will not take risks with your child. Bullshit. What have you done so far?
Extra COVID vaccines thanks to a fast-track delivery, and the Prime Minister.
They pretended for a year that you told them kids don't get sick. They pretended for a full year kids don't, that there's this popular rumor out there that kids don't get sick. That you spread that rumor. What about this vascular inflammatory condition?
Vehicle sales absolutely booming in Canada. We're looking at the April number.
And I remind you, we did cover I literally held my phone up like this because I couldn't figure out how to switch over fast enough. The Australian government, when they first said, we're going to keep the schools open because of what the evidence seems like, and they were the first ones to do this. Within, was it a month or two? We fucked up. We're closing all the schools. The kids cannot be in school, and it will fucking cause permanent fucking damage to these kids, blah, 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 blah. These people here are going, oh, well, we know that you all keep saying kids don't get sick, so since it seems that way, we never said that. They presented the false narrative that we believed kids don't get sick. None of us thought that. Nobody thought that. Who thinks kids don't get sick? Just magically don't get sick. They're sick all the fucking time. That's how their immune system learns. Because whatever you went through in your life, your generation is not going to be the same thing they have to go through. So it does no good to have a pre-programmed. It's like having antivirus software pre-installed in your computer. It's already out of date when you turn the computer on.
Rate at this point, but our medical experts are telling us.
Don't get in. We'll get to it. We will. My timing's up. Almost everything is podcasted. You can find it.
90s, don't sleep. No, nigga, we are what? No matter who it is, bound to get the job done. We the Caribbeans got the shooters behind OGs, the wide.
Speaking of which, there was a drive-by yesterday. They're not talking about it all.
We are what? No matter who it is, bound to get the job done. On the same shit.
So I've said this a lot of times. Wherever you live might have a worse crime statistic or whatever. Here, there's just this weird fucking undercurrent of some bad spirit that makes random shit happen. The shootings happen in Chicago, 50 people shot in a weekend, and yeah, nothing gets done. But the news, somebody somewhere makes a news story about it because they're making a big. Hey, look at the death everywhere. Give me more dirty laundry. She could tell you about the meat on the highway with a smile on her face or whatever the fuck. These assholes here. Hey, somebody got shot up. 8:30 in the morning. They tell us at 8:45 or 9:45 or whatever. And then silence, nothing, never mentioned again. Just never mentioned again. So if I ever come across as glorifying violence, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to point out these assholes won't talk about it at all. Like, something bad happens to you in the street, you get swept into the gutter and gone. You don't exist anymore.
Only if it's fucking up, play some aim and niggas above the button. I'm harder than the pain, no catch a fucking up. Repack a clip, that to get our shit up. Only other option is to stick up. Never a 9 to 5, cause I ain't got no day job. From the slums, little homie, when you play hard. If you don't wanna see the 30-30 when it sprays off. 20 people walk around 3/8 with the beat. The 40 to lick them down, the max for the huge sheets. Heard niggas saying but they wanna make tracks with us. Before that, didn't even crack. Going hard in the Biden says he expects to hold a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin during his trip to Europe in June. Biden will attend the Group of 7 summit in the UK.
Oh, Biden. I was about to say Putin. What's Putin doing? No, he said Biden.
I ain't finished my fair share yet, but that air them just started. And I ain't talking about no jump shot, brush them off, go top.
There's jokes about that, about how these leaders all got the same fucking name.
Didn't think I was capable. 4-5 pints. It isn't traceable.
Niggas gon' ride something like a flat tire. Hiding the fire at your back and when you backfire.
By the way, he's killing you.
There's a blow dry. Never true in your rap. You some damn liars. Great job, make them spit through the wire. And you don't supply shit, you a buyer. I'm the king of gang rap, call me sire. That's it. But by the name you rate and admire. Your rubber grip tight, no pliers. I gotta take you out, call it quits or retire. The fourth room down, different from up. Barrels don't leave shells, so I'm switching up. Do something like a bus driver still picking up. Got your hands in your pocket, nigga, stick them out. I'm a project, money's no objects. So we finger fuck max and we contact. Slide in, slide out, drop where we ride out, down, go.
I told you he was here, I said it 10 minutes ago. At 6:58 or 6:59, I said, we found Troma. Didn't I say that? Keep it up. You get yourself on a watch list that way, dummy. You're using kitty porn software to attack people. Keep it up, keep pinging, buddy, keep pinging.
We got metal like a rap, made a name in rap. I ain't setting it for trap, yes. So I'ma need me a back to that C-O-L-T, carved in my rap.
To arrest the person and make sure that they're off the streets of Toronto.
The victim was taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries. The constable says those injuries have now been
So just so you know, I know, keep it up. Keep hitting that button on your phone to harass us. That's okay. The software on your phone is malware. You downloaded it from BitTorrent, which is malware. You got the link from a kiddie porn chat room. Yes, you did. There's a back door on your phone that you cannot remove now. And the ping utility is like the most. Keep it up. Keep it up. The ping utility is the most. Keep it up.
The National Advisory Committee on Immunization is suggesting that mRNA shots like Pfizer and Moderna are preferred over the viral vector vaccines of Johnson & Johnson.
Keep it up. Come on. You got the slowest internet connection in the world, Doc. It's waiting. It's waiting. Yep. It's waiting. It's waiting for your internet connection. That's how slow your internet connection is. The software is waiting for your computer to respond, and it takes 8,000 milliseconds. If it takes 10 seconds, it doesn't wait anymore. That's how blatant and bait you are with what you're doing. So the ping utility is the most basic network utility included on every fucking computer since like 95, I guess. Probably before that. The ping utility. You downloaded some super secret software to access something built into every computer ever. You now have a backdoor on your phone that you can't get rid of. It's going to go off every hour. Yep. Keep showing me with my eyes closed. That's good. Keep showing me with my eyes closed. That's good. He's getting angry. He's getting fucking angry. 6, 7, 8. 8. See? I count to 8 and it does it. Yeah, see? You've got an 8,000 millisecond ping time. And I don't care. You think you're smart using some VPN or something. No, you're not. We know what you're doing. It's a SolarWinds hack. There's a backdoor through YouTube. Yep. Keep it up. 4,000 lines of code. Took thousands of engineers to create it. Anonymous dropped that software where child molesters would find it. Now there's a backdoor on your phone. The more you use that software, the more watch lists you end up on, stupid. Keep it up. Why do you think Buddy upstairs? Somebody must be telling Buddy upstairs to go fuck himself. It don't matter if you're best friends because you're an informant. Keep it up. Keep it up. 5, 6, 7, 8. So it don't matter if you're best friends with some narcotics officer or a beat cop that you get away with snitching, whatever. When it gets to this level, the units of police that are watching you are not those cops. There's nothing they can do to help you. You've got digital records all over your... Keep it up. Keep it up. You've got digital records all over your shit pointing back at you, waving the pedophile flag proud. Go look at the titles of the videos you're attacking, dumbass. What does it say? Chomos are attacking every single one of my videos. 30 fucking videos in a row. I assume 12 hours of recording, 20 minutes maximum. I'm guessing that's 3 dozen videos. No, I can't be bothered to count. That's why there's 2,800 fucking videos or whatever on this channel. That's why. There shouldn't be. There should be like 800. This is supposed to be a condensed, simpler version of. It's supposed to be a condensed, simpler version of what I'm listening to here. You idiots keep making it so it's about you. Oh, and don't pay attention to this view counter. I know you think you're the only person watching. This thing, keep it up. Keep it up. This thing don't work correctly. Or I guess it's down here. It says 1 watching now. I guess it'll be over here, right? So I know it says 1 watching now. I've seen a dozen people talking on here and it says 1 watching now. So that don't mean nothing. You think you're the only person watching. You're not. Yep, keep showing me my eyes closed. That's good. The profilers must love. They must love that. Yeah, keep showing me. That's funny. That's funny because I'm looking out the window and when I turn this way, I'm looking at a picture of me with my eyes clamped shut, my head turned sideways. What the fuck's it do? That's called Face App, right? You tap a couple times, you edit your photo. There's a 50-some-odd-year-old Korean man who's edited his own videos, not photos, videos, to the point where he looks like a 24-year-old Korean. Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up. He's edited his videos to where he looks like a 24-year-old Korean woman. He just did it for fun. He went way over the top. He just edited. He went to the extreme of editing his photo. He's not pretending to be so. This is just an experiment, like for the internet. Who the fuck cares? Because he's just taking pictures of himself riding his dirt bike. So you're not impressing anybody when you pop these pictures up on my screen with my eyes clamped shut and my mouth. So my mouth sort of, if you were painting it, this comes across as a rectangle, and you'll always see my teeth. But you know what I keep seeing? This little round black circle with no teeth. Yeah, that's what they keep showing me on these edited pictures. Yeah, keep freezing it. I keep seeing pictures. I'm looking at the screen, and my head's tilted back, and my eyes rolled back. But that's only happened like twice. So most of you that keep using this software don't know what a dead body looks like because you keep showing me like I'm sleeping with my mouth hanging open. That's not how it works.
Parkway to Burnhamthorpe, and that's due to a collision investigation. St. Clair, East.
Now remember, if these idiots think they're the only ones watching, who is this for? Me or them? Because I don't give a fuck. I've demonstrated for a year now. I don't give a fuck.
Jarvis is closed between Queens Quay and the Esplanade.
So you're still trying to prove something to yourself.
Approaching Shepherd down to a single lane, getting.
And what it seems to be is you're trying to prove you're a hacker, and you're not.
Coming up at 7:21, and now with a look at the forecast, here's Natasha Ramsahheim. 8 degrees tonight, still cloudy, misty, drizzly, and that drizzle will linger into tomorrow morning, waking up to 8 degrees. We'll get up to 13 degrees, which is still a tad below.
So normally there would be the market minute during the day. I think they might give us a story.
Gusty northwest winds 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. Finally clear out Wednesday night, though.
When China joined the WTO in
Thursday morning with increasing cloud.
And China has,
a couple of late showers and 13 degrees. Tonight down.
Your Chinese people reading numbers off like that?
Checking points have been arranged to facilitate the surge.
Considering
the high frequency and concentrated passenger flow of high-speed rail,
We arranged different ticket check-in points for high-speed rail and regular rail, and opened 2 ticket check-in channels on one platform at the same time to ensure that more than 1,000
slipped to 1.66 million vehicles. That was lower than the 1.91 million reported in March. The firm says the Canadian automotive market continues
keep showing
to be
me my
affected
eyes.
by
Edit shut. I know. You got a few options. You can freeze it. You can edit it real fast, but that takes another second and a half. I know. I don't care. You're not impressing anybody. You've proven yourself to be a child molester, and stupid. A smart person would have fucked up. A smart person would have fucked up. You're responding with anger and fixation and obsession, which proves you're a sex offender. You got mad at everything I said.
Your options are even better.
Everything I said to whatever entity is attacking my computer or whatever. Yeah, keep it up. Everything I said to the entity, whatever out there attacking that I think is attacking my computer, is now it's responding with anger to that. Right. So you're not a normal human, and you're not a computer. That means there's one option left. You're the chomo I was talking about. You're the chomo I was talking about. That's it. Yep. Oh wow. This is the extent of their hacking ability. They can interfere with the touch screen, basically. There's somewhere in the touch screen interface. It's different because there's no touch screen on these boxes, right? 6, 7, 8. No? Yeah, you will. You've done it 250,000 times. You've responded the same way 250,000 times. You've done this on over 2,000 videos, dog. You've done this on over 2,000 videos. You've done it hundreds of times on each video. That's over 250,000 times. That's pathology. You're a chomo, there's no changing it. Obviously, because you keep getting more angry and more obsessed and fixating more. So where were you all day? The video ran all day, no problems. You're gonna swing a ladder at me again? So, do I not have it timed perfectly? He's got an 8,000 millisecond ping time. He's got an 8,000 millisecond ping time. It's 8 seconds. If the whatever it is that they're interfering with gets to 10, it stops waiting for a response. It's network aware malware. It's pretty slick. But it was put together to track pedos, not yeah. See the 8s from when I call it to when it happens. You can rewind through the video and see for yourself if it's exactly 8 seconds. I'm just estimating in my head what's going on here.
In LA, when they take on.
So please take it. But the other thing about our government, how can our just quickly, how can our government constantly prepare for war by putting all this money, I mean, not just Canada, but around the world, into the military? And I'm for the military. But how can we put money into the military for wars that may not happen, but yet we don't have our own facilities to produce medications and other vaccines we might need in the future?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I got to get going because I'm going to run up against the clock and I want to get Tim in because he's the last caller. Canada's not putting money into defense either. So we're not putting money into pharmacy or defense. We're losers on both ends of that. Tim, I'll give you the last word on this.
Hi, Alex, and thanks for being the common sense voice during this pandemic.
Yeah, once in a while.
But I would like to point out that, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but it started off with me when Canada decided to change how they were going to operate and spread the dosage out over 4 months, where the vaccine manufacturers had said 21 days. I thought, okay, well, I'm not taking any vaccine until our government actually follows the recipe on this. The second point is you've got Pfizer and Moderna, which are, mRNA.
You've got an 8,000 millisecond ping time. Oh, it tells me there's probably a VPN in place, but it also tells me you've got shitty internet service. No, the VPN is what's the information coming off your device back to anonymous. Whoever wrote the software you were stupid enough to install that you can't get rid of now. They put AI in the malware. It's network aware malware. That's what I'm calling it. I don't know what else to call it. It checks for no. It'll respond differently depending on what internet access is available. Because obviously nobody has 100% all the time internet access on every device. Well, if the software doesn't connect, it has to get out of the way and let the machine start running, or you're going to know there's malware on your device, right? But all they can do with this thing here is they keep, so when you're running apps and stuff, it'll cache, even after you close the app, it'll cache the data or whatever. Somewhere in the cache, they're switching out a piece of code somewhere to the point where it crashes the machine and it clears everything. We start over. You're never going to rewrite the fucking devices you're attacking. Your device got rewrote. Your device has a back door on it that allows the manufacturer to rewrite the operating system. These don't. No, they don't. Oh, you're mad. You're mad. You're mad. He's getting mad. Now, this is what I mean. Some of this shit's automated, and some of it you can see the fucking human response. You think I put blah, 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 Chomo in the title that many times? You know how many people that see that? They're not going to all comment or pass a judgment. They're going to want to see what the fuck. Why is Buddy going off about Chomos? All right. They're not going to take a side either which way. There's a lot of people to watch out for shit like that. Eh? A lot of people with a lot of time on their hands. And you're attacking those videos, reacting emotionally. The one thing this software can do is react emotionally to the things I say. Did I not clock you now 6 times in a row with that 8-second ping time thing? When I put the thing away and went 5, 6, 7, 8. Am I making that up? You believe what you want. I'm not touching the keyboard. And the remote that comes with this box won't actuate that bar at the bottom. That's their big hack. One of. So a few months ago, every single video got fucked with on every single level. It happens within 3 seconds of going live, but it only happens when we're going live. And we've been talking about this for months before the SolarWinds hack became public. That's why I started putting the hashtag SolarWinds, hashtag hack. That's why. You idiots are still, like the world doesn't know. Like the people with money don't know anything about computers or something. Now, what's on my box? A secret bank account? This is what I watch on TV. That's it. You idiots keep making this about you. You attack me and make this about you. Say it to my face, Jomo. This is what they're fucking yelling at me outside. They're yelling, keep it up, Jomo, because I keep saying it. I keep saying that on the video. So they're letting me know it's the fucking same people. Right? Amongst all the threats they left in the chat here. I'm trying to bring people at least the news in a condensed format. And there's a little bit of an element of a reaction video to it too, because when I heard blah 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 say, I was like, oh, you're not gonna get the same. Is this recording?
And silver bullion dealer in.
For construction, and southbound McCowan approaching Shepherd is down to a single right lane getting through, and that's also.
And you could think I'm making this shit up. The apartment on each side of me been empty for fucking years. The one under me empty for fucking years. I say enough bad things about these people, they're taking offense. And then the power starts getting all fucked up. Knowing that there's a hole in the wall on the other side. I know there is, because bugs and mice and shit keep coming through. And then somebody's grabbing on the power cords or something. Causing it to arc or something. It's no different than you plug in, like if you turn on a heater, and my monitor here will turn off when there's a power surge. Yeah, it's blatantly obvious what's happening. Same thing with the red border. You don't see it right now because everything's working correctly. So when you see that flash of red, it's actually like 5 or 10 bursts of red. I think the camera's working at 15 frames or something, 30 frames. I don't know. That's just one of the options. When the GPU is trying to redraw the screen, it flashes it. It'll try 200 times, 1,000 times in a row to redraw the screen while these people are pinging the hell out of the router. And there's timing. Everything's about timing with computers. If you fuck up the timing, you get 1 0 as a 1, and the whole thing won't work. But you can't seem to make it do what you want all the time, like 3 months ago. And you also can't see what I could see. You can only see the video I'm sending. I wish I could do picture-in-picture and whatever. We'll do that later.
We designed the Scotiabank.
Damn it, that was an American news channel. I wonder what story it was. This is how these idiots spend their hours and days. They've been at this 25 minutes or so bothering. I keep showing me my eyes closed. You said idiots. Well,
take a closer look. It's mostly
by the way,
Washington.
freezing it up
There's
only seems to take a split
concern
second. This other shit
with
takes
the rapid
longer.
rise of China, the U.S. is very much concerned that
These people are so pathological. They don't
losing
believe I can
its
see what's
predominant
happening until I show them with the fucking stupid
in the
little mirror.
global arena.
I don't
For
believe I can
example,
hear when the
China is
audio
ahead of the
cuts out,
US
even though I'm
in
showing
many
them the phone 100
sectors
fucking times,
already.
sitting in the corner
China
running.
is the largest nation for the trading for goods. China's,
refuse to believe.
For example,
If I stand right here, we've not done this repeatedly. I could stand here for an hour. As soon as I come on screen, all hell breaks loose. Or they keep testing to see if I'm
wind
still
turbine, solar panel,
Why? What's the difference?
batteries and electrical vehicles, etc. So, and also on high tech and military progress.
AGM lead acid batteries, absorbed glass mat lead acid batteries. You can recycle them over and over. You can fill them with human piss or distilled water. Well, not the absorbed glass mat, but lead acid batteries. You make a human piss battery. Yeah, your car probably has a lead acid battery in it. Yeah, what are we doing with all these? I got like 20 pounds of fucking lead wheel weights here.
Your future. A message from the Government of Canada.
At the top of the hour news, get caught up in less than 60 seconds. Just add the flash briefing skill to Alexa, then set it to play 640 Toronto. And don't forget.
Remember, some of these idiots are such stalkers. They started checking the times of when these shows I tune into start and stuff, or checking the podcast or whatever, and it'll magically cut out at the part of the story where they start talking about black people or women or anything like that. They get mad. They think right now they've taken 25 minutes off the Beijing hour. I've known for like 3 months there's not going to be much news at all off the Beijing hour. Here, you want to check it out? It's going to be about Joe Biden. Or vaccines.
Can I get this cake on my birthday? No, you can't. Shut it.
Meet Zara Robinson, 10-year-old math whiz, likes cake. And if she ever wants to work in finance when she grows up, her mother is making sure she and other girls like her have all the right ingredients.
My mom is in finance and she helps girls and women who are in finance or want to be in finance.
Do what?
For Chaitali Patel, a career in finance was a dream come true.
Well, we're going to hear that again later, probably. So what did you interrupt? You spent a half hour harassing us.
They understand each
during the
other
first half
very
hour
well.
of the Beijing hour. The only part with anything useful usually.
About
I knew
their
there'd be nothing
faith,
useful
about
on
the
it.
relationship.
You started doing that Fridays and Saturdays, even though it doesn't run those days.
Yes, by those
at the end of last summer,
in particular. So there's, I would say, a political foundation.
Anytime I put on Okapi radio, we got attacked.
A strong relationship between the two sides.
And he doesn't like
and
the
also
fact we're speaking
remember
a
in the
language he doesn't
1960s,
understand.
70s, there's during the
And he's
process
an
of
apartheidist.
political
He hates,
independence
I'm guessing he
in
just
the
hates
African
everything
continent,
black.
there's a
Since he's
strong
not
political
black,
support from China.
Since his race was
and
brought in and told they were a higher level than us,
to return
and they would be the police
to the UN
of
Security
us.
Council, remember. So that's
the number one in this group that's been harassing us, the number one out of the amount of time spent and following us around the building, trying to hit us with whatever he's got at hand, and in front of people multiple times. The one that mimics masturbating in public, like that's somehow like. You call me a name and I say fuck you. That's technically you could call that sexual, I guess. But do we think of it as that when we say fuck you? No, not really. He thinks it's the equivalent. So just remember, he was raised to believe his race is superior to my race because his is the police force to enforce the race laws against my race. In a country where idiots like him believe raping a baby will cure HIV. The star of the video at the top of this
piece from, let's say, African countries and other parts of the world.
Yeah, that's the interesting part. If you look at the...
So it's been 16 months and I can't get a blood test.
You can see the Twitter users over there. I would say the most popular response would be...
No, if he's got HIV and if I got it from him, I'll die
to
faster
show,
than him.
the reality of the colonial times when Africans were poorly treated by the UK and Belgium, France and other European colonial powers. For example, you do see pictures of young people with one hand being cut off, basically. So that's horrific, I would say. But that's a reality. Many people were enslaved over there.
You've been too busy
and
to
one
rob the
of the
coffee
African
shop.
entrepreneur, he presented himself as an engineer.
Wondering where the fuck I was. I'm supposed to be
one,
why would I do
China is not condescending. China
Too
does
many of you
not tell us
crackheads
how
out there
to
that
run
none of you's
our
going to
affairs.
try to do it because
China
all the rest will
actively
snitch.
invests for a win-win engagement. China has made the life of the average African visibly better over the past 15 years. So there isn't much China aid labeled corn or oil. So the West only opens the democracy and human rights page when it suits them. They are more than happy to witness a dictator ransack a nation if it furthers their national interests. Africans are not stupid. We eventually catch on. Very well said, I would say, about the relationship between China and African nations here.
Thank you, Qingduo, for your insights and time.
My pleasure.
That's Xu Qingduo, our chief political commentator. Coming up, Denmark tells Syrian refugees to return to Damascus, where they believe is safe now. To listen to this episode again or to catch up on previous episodes, you can download our podcast by searching Road Today. And for more discussion, you can follow us on Twitter. It's China Plus News. This is Road.
This is going to be dry.
Up to 13. 680 news time at the double tones will be 7:30.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, May 4th. I'm Caitlin Lee.
I'm Scott Burnett. Here's what's making news right now.
At least 13 staff at a quarantine hotel near Pearson Airport have COVID-19, but public health officials are keeping the Crown Plaza open.
Breaking news, a child has life-threatening injuries after being struck by a vehicle in Mississauga.
South of the border, Derek Chauvin's lawyer is requesting a retrial after the former police officer was convicted of the murder of George Floyd.
The lawyer for the Jamal Franzik family wants the SIU investigation into his death reopened. He claims criminal negligence causing death was committed when Singh was shot by Peel police.
The Blue Jays look to bounce back in Oakland later tonight, and the Raptors battle the
Yes,
Clippers.
you are
trying to
fucking
stay alive
useless.
in the playoff hunt. Sports at 45.
Donald Trump locked for his new communications platform that he's announced.
Oh, the internet.
In the red at Bill 25 points. Lyft reporting better than expected earnings business at 56.
680 news time, 7:31.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Good evening, Carla.
In-depth analysis, valuable insights, expert views, presented by an award-winning team. Today, keeping you
Trying to homeschool my child who is now like literally 3 grades back. But parents want clarity. And the fact that we're even discussing kids not going to school in September to me is just
thanks to all the teachers unions fucking up the year before. Yes, you did. You wanted 2% when everybody else got 1%.
Every reason to get kids
You're
back
going
into
to swear up
school
and down
because of the
ambulance
damage that is
pilots
being
don't
done, not just
deserve
to their
it.
education,
You deserve
but to their
pandemic
mental
pay
health. I don't even
for
understand
killing
why
off all those
entertaining
old
this conversation.
people. Who was working in the
Well,
long-term
because if
care
they
homes?
didn't,
The
they'd
same
be accused
teachers
of not
getting the
being
kids
prepared.
sick.
So there's nothing wrong.
Girl in Denmark pleaded her family vision earlier this month, moving viewers as she asked what she had done wrong. So to talk more about this, let's have Professor Said Mohammed Marandi from University of Tehran. Thanks for joining us, Professor Marandi.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, Danish authorities
said
said
Syria,
its move
Damascus,
to tell
all this.
Syrian refugees to return to Damascus
Oh, here we go.
is justified because of a report that found the security situation in some parts of Syria had improved significantly, including Damascus and its surrounding areas.
Yeah, only the official
Does that
government will
the
gas you.
case?
Well, that's a complicated question. The security situation is much better thanks to the Syrian government and the Syrian armed forces. The terrorist groups that European governments, as well as Turkey and Saudi Arabia and others, were supporting, under the leadership of the United States, these terrorist forces have lost the battle.
Members have tested positive for COVID-19 at a quarantine hotel at Pearson Airport. 680's Karen Seolin joins us live with the latest on this outbreak at the Crown Plaza Hotel. Karen.
On Syria.
Yeah, Caitlin, COVID-19 outbreak.
So what's happening there? They're not turning it on after I turn it off. I'm clicking, and instead of one click, it's getting like 30 signals that I click. There's a little timing.
To isolate. It's not known at this point how many people.
That's how much of a hacker you are. I know exactly what you're doing and not doing.
It continues to work with the hotel to identify all cases, while an on-site investigation today did find that most public health measures were being followed. It did note room for improvement, including further reducing lunchroom capacity, putting up more signs, and centralizing screening. While the city can close any business with 5 or more cases, for now, the Crown Plaza is staying open, as TPH says it provides an essential service to travelers. TPH, however, can still order a partial closure. Reporting live, I'm Karen Seolin.
680 News Time 7:34. No matter what's happening in the province in terms of COVID infections, Ontario students will have a choice to learn from home in September. 680's Mark Douglas explains.
Online learning will still be part of the entire 2021-22 school year in Ontario. In fact, Education Minister Stephen Lecce says the Ford government has been consulting on the idea of making online learning a permanent feature.
Parents want that choice for this September because we're unsure of where this pandemic will take us. Well, I think we all have a sense of hope. With vaccines really rolling out in the province, there's some light at the end of this darkness as we look forward. But the truth is, what we heard is parents want the choice.
The education critic for the opposition NDP, Merritt Stiles, says this is just the Ford government trying to save money.
He's given up. To me, that was, I've given up.
And Minister Lecce is making no commitment on whether kids might be back to the classrooms anytime for the rest of the current school year. At Queen's Park, I'm Mark Douglas.
Hugs are back for fully vaccinated long-term care residents and their caregivers. The province easing COVID-19 restrictions on homes, allowing residents to eat together and gather groups inside. Seniors advocate Laura Tamblin-Watts welcomes the new rules.
We can never lock people up like this again.
They just had 5 people, 3 of them vaccinated, get sick.
While the shutdown is
They're 70% vaccinated, they told us. I don't know why the numbers keep changing. I swear I heard them say
make
this.
sure that we're basing this on evidence and vaccination.
But you're not.
About 95% of LTC
Oh, so
residents have
that somebody wrote down that the person's vaccinated.
Here with Element News Radio,
Just like the Red Cross
7:36.
or whoever
For the former Minneapolis police officer
screens your blood. Do you have a hepatitis? No? Screening
In the
form.
filing, Derek Chauvin's attorney says the jury committed misconduct, felt threatened or intimidated, felt race-based pressure during the proceedings, and or failed to adhere to instructions during deliberations. That in violation of Chauvin's constitutional rights to due process and a fair trial. The lawyer also claims the court failed to sequester the jury, exposing it to prejudicial publicity. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
680 News Time 7:36. The lawyer for the Jamal Fransique family says criminal negligence causing death was committed when 28-year-old Jamal Fransique was shot by Peel police during a takedown in Mississauga last January. As 680's Phil Martino tells us, he's released the results of an independent investigation into the death. She joins us live with more. Phil.
Caitlin, Nia Singh, lawyer for the family of Jamal Fransique, says the comprehensive legal inquiry is a response to the SIU report that cleared a Peel police officer of criminal wrongdoing in the 28-year-old's shooting death. He claims the inquiry found there were many discrepancies in that SIU report as well as omissions. He is calling for a reopening of this investigation.
Well, we're definitely relying on the Attorney General to review this report and actually analyze it and say, yes, based on the evidence provided here, we should reopen this investigation.
The SIU has released a statement today that reads in part, a comprehensive SIU investigation found there were no reasonable grounds to lay criminal charges against the officer who shot Mr. Fransique. Phil Martino.
There's no reasonable chance of a conviction. That's one of the little things in Canada.
Toronto
Well, we don't
police
think
are
we
now
can convict
searching
you,
for a
therefore
suspect they
we're just
say
not going to
poses a
prosecute.
danger to the public after one person was stabbed on a subway platform. It happened just before 4 this afternoon at Royal York Station. Constable
That might be
Laura
on the
Brayban
previous
says
video.
The one victim was taken to hospital.
The man had been stabbed multiple times on the platform level. When officers arrived on scene, they did locate a male victim, initially transported with injuries that were considered life-threatening. We do believe that right now the injuries are still serious in nature.
She says some kind of altercation on the platform led to the stabbing. The suspect got away either on foot or by boarding a subway.
You're not sure?
Trains are not stopping at Royal York. Shuttle buses are running between Jane and Islington stations instead.
6:50 news time, 7:38. The Prime Minister has good news when it comes to vaccine shipments. 6 Cities Parliament Hill reporter.
That's sort of what I'm talking about Toronto. The only person that can get a reliable drive away is the guy getting away from the stabbing. All the rest of us got to take a bus and run.
Next shipment tonight in Europe, and by tomorrow morning, 1 million Moderna doses will be on the ground.
Can somebody make a Muppet of this guy, please?
His advice that people should get vaccinated as quickly as possible, and all approved vaccines are safe and effective. This message being echoed by Chief Public Health Officer Dr. Teresa Tam.
If you're asked to take your turn, please do so and line up. I think that's the bottom line.
This comes in the wake of the National Advisory Committee on Immunization suggesting that mRNA vaccines like Pfizer and Moderna are preferred over viral vector shots like Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca.
No matter
On
what, I've got
AstraZeneca,
bad
officials
airflow
also
in
saying that new advice could be coming soon for people who receive their first dose but aren't sure if supplies will allow them to get their second. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
Your gas price update is next.
680 News Time, 7:39.
Need a car today, a much better way. Visit OntarioCars.ca.
Listen here, my friend, and I'll offer a little advice. Why scour the city looking for a used or new car when you can easily visit OntarioCars.ca and find a large selection to choose from? Couldn't be simpler. No clutter, just cars. There's all-in pricing from our trusted sellers too, and all purchases are protected by a compensation fund. Find your gem at OntarioCars.ca.
OntarioCars.ca.
Now, the 680 News gas price update. Pro predicts the price will rise
Can't
a
outsmart
cent
stupid.
at $30.9 a liter. Traffic and weather is next.
680 News Time, 7:40.
Hey, neighbor, what you grilling?
Good food.
Well, I certainly hope it's good food.
These little leaves here opening up the last 24 hours or so.
Meals every week and deliver right to your doorstep. So all you have to do is pick and grill.
On the menu tonight, porterhouse steak for two.
For two, eh?
Yeah, as in me and my wife.
Of course, obviously. You know, that steak is pretty huge.
Nice try, Sam.
Good food. Eating evolved. Visit makegoodfood.ca. Certain conditions apply. Details on makegoodfood.ca.
Hey, it's Dina and Sam from Breakfast Television here to tell you about a contest called
I wake up with
Yeah, you can blame these guys too.
$1,000 just by answering the phone with
I wake.
Again, we're seeing very high rates compared to the first and second wave, but nothing like the death rate that we saw during those. So again, I think this is low-hanging fruit to blame the government of the day. We all know this has been neglected forever. And I think the one benefit out of all of this is that it has put focus on personal support workers. It has put focus on the healthcare system, and it is something that is not fashionable, and it is not something that gets attention like, say, the teachers' issues do or whatever. So I'm glad that at least now the attention has been focused on something that has been neglected for decades, not only seniors, but the healthcare industry in general.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, and we learned today that long-term care, because they are vaccinated as of today, finally these people can have freedom to get some sunshine on their face or hug a loved one. But nonetheless, it has been decades in the making. I can't count how many stories I've done on long-term care. And for whatever reason, it was just always met with oh, well, someone else will do it. Well, no one else did it, and a lot of people died.
So if she's done any stories at all, she's done more than most.
But there is so much blame to go around on it.
Sure, and I mean, it is shared. Scott's absolutely right. Alex, you're absolutely right. It is shared blame, and you can go back as far as you want. You can look at investigative reports. You can look at reports that have come from independent entities, and all of them say the same thing. This needs
an interministerial
to be
committee.
better. So I hope right now
impartial.
That we are
do believe the term. I think in this sense it would be independent.
It's not our fault, and this person should apologize.
Of a company.
Okay, we're done with that. Now what we need is, how do we move forward? How do we look at the private-public split, because you can also grab all kinds of polls and information asking people, hey, when you're older, would you like to go into a long-term care home? And you've got how many people saying, no, thank you. I don't want anything to do with anything like that. So how do we make them more attractive? How do we look and say it's not about the almighty dollar and the almighty bottom line? We're playing with lives here. People who have contributed to our society and looked after us. Now it's our turn to look after them. So what are we doing? How about the PSWs? They make peanuts. How are we going to change that? How are we going to make
you want the worst people in the world doing that job. I'm not saying all of them are.
This does
that's
matter,
what they
much
go
like
looking
some of the
for
other
that
issues.
job.
If you look right now, we've got declining birth rates in a lot of countries. And one of the things that's pointed to is, hey, who's going to look after people? Who is going to do these jobs if we don't have people who are young and looking to work their way into, whether it's nursing or whether it is in the healthcare sector?
350,000 people on unemployment insurance, 350,000 temporary foreign workers. In China, they have a thing called the time bank. Yeah, every time I click, it's clicking 4 or 5 or 6 times. That's good. It's very creative.
It's everybody's fault, and it doesn't matter.
And it's in everybody's interest to get this fixed, because you know what? One day, all of us will be in one of these places, and I hope to God warehousing doesn't
The
exist
reason
when
not
I
to
get that
burn
age,
30
but
people alive
we
is because
can't
one
fix
day
it
it
by
might be
then.
you.
I'll be screaming and shouting in some home for who knows what. Nonetheless,
And everybody's
it has
living
to be
longer.
fixed. Yeah, exactly. There you go. It's true. All right, guys, I got to let you go there, but thank you so much for sharing your time with
Everybody's
me.
not. White people.
Great to be here. Thanks.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Scott.
That is Scott Thompson, who you can listen to, of course, on our sister station 900.
In this part of the world, is white people living longer. My life expectancy is 38, 42, or 53, depending on what study you look at. And since I've got suicide disease, that cuts it dramatically down. So I got another, let's see, what are we in May? 9 more months or so to go before, 8 or 9 months to go before I've beaten the life expectancy. Oh, this will be sports. Hold on. It's 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock.
Jobs a year. These days, business is pretty bad. It's a bit of a gamble to take part in this expo, but we want to show our face so our key customers know we are still around.
The number of weddings in Hong Kong dropped more than a third last year.
Payment systems, transactions like PayPal, by credit card are usually much more expensive. So there is a potential to get into it. But the problem at the moment is in the internet world, more with an increasing degree, the internet companies step in between the client and the service provider of financial service. So in this case, the European Bank. So if the European Bank don't act, they might lose the direct access to their own clients, and that might be a big problem for them.
So speaking of the European Bank, we understand those who are behind this particular project includes really, well-known banking giants, names like Deutsche Bank, BNP Paribas, UniCredit, as well as Santander. What kind of resources can they provide to this initiative?
Well, I mean, I think the most important aspect is they still have the access to their clients. So the big client base is the most important input they can provide. With regard to technology, I'm afraid this is not so helpful. They had to cope with a lot of very, very disorganized regulation, which forced them to really, how should I say, make havoc in their own electronic data system. And so it is very hard for them to have efficient solutions in this field. Maybe they could build something on a green field, just starting from the scratch. But I think it's very hard to do because then they must find a solution where to do it and who has to participate with which shares and that. So these are problems which are really big. I wonder if we can solve them in the time frame we have.
Okay, so Professor, earlier there is another interesting point that you raised regarding political intervention, but it seems at least from the current status quo in Brussels, there seems to be some kind of political support towards this particular initiative. So how would you say distinguish political intervention from political support?
I think
it's interesting to me, but the problem is not right now with all this virus shit going on. This don't interest me because I don't see how it's going to matter.
Donation is a healthcare system protection electrostatic process that is applied to all surfaces, including frequently touched and hard to reach areas, and is 99.9% effective. Our application of NanoNation's BioProtect solution coating is proven.
No, the same stations they keep running this ad on ran the story once that Health Canada says this shit doesn't work. It's you're supposed to touch this thing. You're supposed to keep touching this thing and it'll magically clean your hands. Yeah, everybody's touching the same contact point for 90 days. They say 90 days. Do you think they're getting it reapplied 90 days later? Health Canada already said you're spreading disease with this shit.
At 1 p.m. or anytime from Apple and Spotify podcasts. We are 640 Toronto.
Pre-pandemic, Doug Ford planned to get rid of Mississauga, Halton, and Brampton's health network staff. These are the health workers who help families find the medical care and support they need. Now, Doug Ford says these same people are vital to helping hospitals and long-term care homes get through COVID. Premier Ford, you need them now. Don't toss them out later. Respect these needed workers so they can continue to help families in Mississauga, Halton, and Brampton today and tomorrow. A message from and paid for by QP 966.
At True Tone Electronics, we know this has been a difficult time for everyone. Your safety is our #1 priority. Our showroom is currently closed, but our professional staff are available via email at sales@truetone.ca or by phone at 905-270-3440 to answer any questions. Please visit True Tone.
Sports or culture.
In the Champions League semifinals, and whatever happens, we're all going to fight to the
wall.
Want to learn about world affairs in a more laid-back and accessible manner? Join insiders, experts, and analysts in the casual setting of the chat lounge to hear their personal experiences and opinions on major events and hot issues.
Pearson on Global News Radio.
Well, it was a pretty unforgettable image, a cop on the beach in a bit of a standoff with a female volleyball player. And what was her crime? Well, yeah, she wanted to practice her sport. Kelly Catrera managed to track down Sophie Buvovic, who's a professional volleyball player for Canada, and asked her pretty much, what'd you do?
I'm homeless. Fuck up.
Sophie, what happened this weekend at Woodbine Beach? Can you tell us the story? Like, I understand there were a lot of people that are heading down to Woodbine Beach, setting up their own nets. What was your plan when you went down this weekend? And maybe walk us through what happened.
Yeah, so I just went down to Woodbine. It's kind of our facility that we use to train every summer as the national team.
It's kind of our facility. Kind of like the Balmy Beach Swastika Club claims to own the property down there, chasing the teenage girls with a knife because they were protecting the Fox Cubs last year. No, I didn't forget.
That being the post.
Well, they're white, so it's okay.
The sand. I can use the sand. I can set down equipment. I just can't set up a net. And him and I had a very good conversation about it. His kids are also athletes, so he was very sympathetic to what I'm going through. But again, it's just that lack of consistency within the restrictions that it's so hard to program and plan and that kind of stuff.
So you were allowed to do everything. Is it because you were alone that you were allowed to stay down at the Woodbine Beach at the volleyball court?
No, there was there was a couple of other recreational players that were just a couple courts down. You can't see them in the photo, but he asked them to take their net down, so they just drew a line and they mimicked an actual volleyball court, and that was permitted.
Did you stay and train? Can you train without a net?
I did train because I'm leaving for competition in a couple of weeks. I'm actually out in Calgary now, considering our circumstances in Toronto. So I just, same as the rec players, drew a line.
That's how we play basketball in the ghetto. There's no nets and backboards.
And that was fine.
Not ideal, but you got to do what you got to do. Athletes are no stranger to challenge and resilience. So.
Right. And so, but were you shocked that it was okay to draw a line in the sand, literally draw a line in the sand,
instead of being on that court, were you planning on training alone the whole day?
Yeah.
Okay, so instead of being there alone with a net up, were you shocked that the bylaw officer would allow you to do that and not just put up a net so you could train appropriately?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of asked him that question.
So this is a non-issue.
Like,
Nothing
if we let you
happened.
train
You weren't allowed to erect a structure on a beach.
We have to then explain that to the rest of the people who come down to use the courts. So it's like an all or nothing type thing, because I don't know if they have the capabilities to police 100+ courts with, 5 athletes or 6 athletes per court.
Right, and it's not like while you're training for your sport and your competition, which is coming up, that you're going to turn around to everybody who walks by and go, "Oh no, it's okay. I'm a national team member. I'm training. I'll be at the Olympics in 4 years if you don't mind."
Correct answer.
Right, and what's great about my sport and my community is that it's a very small community. So the rec players that are consistently down there, they do know who the national team players are. So I don't know if they would have had that big of an issue kind of justifying that to them. But again, they can't justify us doing it and not them, just in terms of the larger grand scheme of things. So
I think a lot of people had a hard time wrapping their heads around the fact that, not very far away,
so it's
just
federal
up the road
jurisdiction.
from the
Where's the
courts,
Canadian
is active
forces on
TO, where
this?
they've shut down the road. Can you give us an indication of how busy that was? Did you pass by active TO, and how close were people? How many people were on that roadway in Lakeshore?
I did pass by it. They closed down kind of my normal route to the beach, so I had to detour to actually get to the beach, to the parking lot. Yeah, there's hundreds of people that are using active TO, and there's hundreds of people that walk their dog and run through the beaches, not necessarily specifically for active TO, but just as their own physical health. And that's what was happening during the time that I was there. So it was just kind of very interesting that only a couple of feet away, other people were allowed and permitted to engage in sport and activity, but I wasn't allowed.
So what are your training options as a future Olympian?
Perpetuated the
during
white
the pandemic?
supremacist thing, and
I
he's this and that, so I better do it.
Okay.
My training partner is out here, so I'm not exactly sure what the restrictions are out here. They kind of, again, seem to be fluctuating, but at least I'll be with her and we can do video and film and things like that, even if we're not physically on the sand.
But I mean, like, these are these nonsensical rules that have been put into play, and none of them make sense. You can bike and you can walk and you can, like, 50 yards away, but you can't play volleyball. None of it makes sense. And all the epidemiologists are all saying the same thing. We want people to
paused and played. That's how internet
therefore
works.
why
All
are
this
we
cutting
saying
in and
no to
out,
some people
that's
and
Chomo
yes to
sending
others?
more
Again,
messages.
it's like this selective policy that never ends, never makes sense. And we'll talk about it after the news, because I didn't get the indication today from Christine Elliott that there's any kind of plan to open. And if there is, I'm not hearing it. Stay with us here. Busy show ahead of us. Stay with us. We'll get your news at the top of the hour. I'm Alex Pearson here on Point on Global News Radio.
Oh, dear.
This Sunday morning on Your Life, Your Money. To commute or not to commute? With a defined benefit pension, you may have some options. Should you leave it in place for a monthly pension in retirement or commute the built-up value? Join Kelvin the Money Guy with Chris Creston this Sunday morning at 9 as they lay out the pros and cons for each option. And for advice anytime, go to askkelvin.ca. That's ask, KELVIN.ca.
Regain your active lifestyle with Genicol Pain Relief. Genicol Pain Relief is a solution to reduce joint pain in less than 5 days.
Now think of who they're marketing to. Think of who they're marketing to. The Canada First Defence strategy, one of the first lines in there is that Canadians are leading more and more sedentary lifestyles. Who are they marketing to? People that want to be active or think of they should be active or whatever. Because statistically, if you're marketing to the people that are active, they already know about this shit. Yeah, keep it up, Chomo. Or it doesn't matter. Just think of who they're marketing to.
Oh.
administration from Duke's Business School. And then she joined Microsoft as a product manager, as the only woman in the first class of MBA graduates. And eventually she became the general manager of information products. And after she got married to Bill Gates and got pregnant, she stayed at home for a few years to raise her kids and take care of the family. And then she returned to work and co-chaired the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So you can tell that she balanced very well between her family and her work. And Melinda, she has long been known as the most powerful.
So you can hold on.
And
so perpetuating again more stereotypes
on the rights of women and growth, and also from family planning to maternal health.
Perpetuating more stereotypes and co-opting words. Right. Because she had kids, that means she lived a balanced life. Oh.
Lawyers. To learn more about Zoom divorce, call pound 99.99. That's pound 99.99. Visit bookria.ca. That's bookria.ca.
This spring on Showcase, my patriarchal ancestor, Lawrence Rutherford, founded our town. The creator of The Good Place and Parks.
No, I got a good script in my head already. You just got to go off. Well, pick country of choice. She took you for just a green card. Whatever. Then I'll throw in dual national, blah, 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 tax implications, health insurance. And then like 10 minutes into the conversation, you drop the fact that there's 2 kids, but one of them you're not sure which one is. Yeah, we'd keep these guys going all day. Zoom divorce. Then we'll waste another 20 minutes getting them to teach us how to use Zoom. I got all sorts of money, but it's locked up because this bitch is chasing me for this and that.
Saturday night.
I need a quick.
Spend an hour with us and learn more about
cash
money
me
management.
out.
You know, managing money is simple, but it's not easy. We've seen this movie before. Crises? What crises? There'll be another one, but you need a steady hand to get through them. I've proven it. Visit us at WolfgameFlying.com. Any questions? Give me a call.
Start your day with Anthony Robart and Candace Daniel, along with Liam Boo and Marianne Demain. Watch Global News Morning.
In Richmond Hill, 9 degrees and overcast. Oshawa, 10 degrees and a cloudy sky. And in Pickering, 9, a cloudy sky. The News Watch never stops. 680 News is CFTR AM Toronto. 680 News time, 8 o'clock.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News. It's Tuesday, May the 4th. Good evening, I'm Scott Burnett.
And I'm Caitlin Lee. Here's what's making news this hour.
A 5-year-old boy attempting to cross a street near Huron, Ontario and Elm Drive has died. The child was struck by a vehicle while riding his bike.
Right on the hour.
At a quarantine hotel.
Yep, right on the hour. Watch. This is going to freeze up for 10 fucking minutes.
A breath of fresh air in long-term
Things
care.
go up and down, up and down. Watch.
At homes, including the community.
Up and down is on the hour.
Lawyer for the family of a 28-year-old man who died after being shot by a field beast last year wants the SIU
That's the
investigation
Chomo stalker
into his death
upstairs.
reopened.
Yep, keep it up. Keep it up. That's the Chomo stalker upstairs who's been harassing me for about 35 years. Manually, every fucking on the hour. Oh, time to do it.
And Dora plans to stop selling.
Refuses to believe it's malware.
TFX moves lower the Dow fights.
Remember, the same person thinks it's okay to rape a child doesn't believe they'll go to jail for it in this country. On, Chomo, hurry up. You see how slow your internet connection is? It took you 2 straight minutes to make that happen. 2 straight minutes to make that happen. Wow.
It was reports of a pedestrian actually running across the 400 highway. So crews are dealing with that off to the right shoulder, but they blocked off the right 2 lanes just to be careful. We've got no issues on the Gardner or the QEW within the GTA, but if you're
Chomo's mad. He's now responding emotionally. He's getting mad. You got your IP address banned. You got to wait 30 seconds. Don't be stupid.
We also have a full closure on city streets, and it's here, Ontario, shut down both directions from Central Parkway out to Burnham Thorpe, and that's unfortunately due to a fatal collision, so that's going to be closed for quite some time. Your next report is coming up at 8:11, and now with a look at the forecast, here's Natasha Ranzahai.
Cloudy and misty conditions right through the night tonight. We are going to stay mild for an overnight low, down to about 8 degrees, but watch for some drizzle that's going to develop overnight.
The traffic. Wow, barely.
Into a damp morning to start. By the afternoon, though, we should get some sunny breaks. Winds pick up out of the northwest up to 50 kilometers per hour. The high still below seasonal at 13 degrees. Tonight, we're down to a low of 8 degrees.
Right now in downtown Toronto,
250,000 times in a row.
At Pearson, 680 News Time.
How many children have you harassed over the internet?
Breaking news tonight out of Mississauga, where a young boy has succumbed to his injuries in hospital after being struck by a vehicle.
680's Karen Seolin joins us live with the very latest from Peel Police. Karen.
Caitlin, the 5-year-old boy, was struck while attempting to cross a busy stretch of Huron, Ontario near Elm Drive on his tricycle. Peel police say the boy was critically injured and taken to hospital where he later died. Constable Akil Mukin says the vehicle was traveling northbound on Huron, Ontario Street just before 6 p.m., but it is unclear what direction the boy, who was with his father, was coming from.
I don't know where exactly on the road they were. All I know is that tragically they were on the road when they were struck by the vehicle. Subsequently was straight for a period of a short distance.
You people think it's okay to drive on sidewalks, and it's okay to play with your kids on train tracks.
Still be seen wedged under a red truck. Now, Mukin says the driver involved is cooperating with investigators, but at this point, it's too early to say if charges are coming. Reporting live, I'm Karen Seolin.
680 News Time, 8:04. And we're following breaking news on the COVID-19 outbreak at the Crown Plaza Hotel near Pearson Airport. Toronto Public Health says there are 13 confirmed cases of the virus among staff at that hotel. TPH says it conducted an inspection of the hotel this morning and has provided instructions to the affected staff members and their close contacts. Health officials say because it's being used as a federally regulated,
you're locked into the story about a dead 5-year-old. You don't want to interrupt that. But the things that this biological warfare you're playing with, that you really believe you're going to kill off niggers with this virus. That's what you don't want us to hear about. Because I'm going to start talking about ventilation again, right?
News Time, 8:04. Ontario is loosening restrictions on long-term care homes as vaccination rates rise. Residents can now enjoy meals together, take part in recreational activities, and them and their caregivers can hug and touch again. While the province remains in shutdown, the ministry says only essential caregivers will be allowed to visit. Seniors advocate Laura Tamlin-Watts welcomes the new rules, but hopes homes will embrace them.
We've seen homes say, well, we think that the directive is sort of a maximum standard or even a minimum standard. We're concerned that homes will make up their own rules and that the ministry won't be there to help to enforce this.
About 95% of LTC residents are fully vaccinated.
According to a Toronto police media rep, a stabbing on a subway platform this afternoon, quote unquote,
they told us this was done 3 months ago.
A danger to the public. First responders found a man inside Royal York Station around 4 o'clock.
Why do the residents need to be vaccinated? If it works, the staff need to be vaccinated, not the residents. You are stupid. They don't have an immune system to mount a response. Just like they can't run out of a burning building.
If the suspect was a stranger or if they were known to each other. At this point, I don't have that information, but I do understand that there was an altercation that took place, and it ended up with our male victim being stabbed multiple times.
Braeban does not know if the suspect took off on foot or by getting on a subway. Subways are not stopping at Royal York Station for now. Shuttle buses are running between Islington and Jane for the time being.
680 News Time, 8:06. It's been over 3 months since the province's police watchdog cleared a Peel police officer of criminal wrongdoing in the shooting death of Jamal Francique. Today, a lawyer for his family released the results of an independent investigation into his death, and the findings paint a different picture. 680's Phil Martino joins us live with more on this story. Phil.
Caitlin, Jamal Francique was shot last January in Mississauga as Peel police officers were attempting to arrest him. Nia Singh, lawyer for his family, says the comprehensive legal inquiry is a response to the SIU report that cleared the officer and the 28-year-old's death. The inquiry found many discrepancies in that report.
The SIU investigation contained many flaws, many holes. One of the most significant flaws and omissions is the analysis of the director into the planning and execution of the events that led to Jamal Franceek's death.
Singh says they are relying on the Attorney General to review the comprehensive legal inquiry and, based on the evidence, reopen the investigation. Now, the SIU has released a statement today.
Call in Michael
It
Bryan.
reads in part that it will need some time to fully and carefully consider the contents of the report before making any further comment. Phil Martino, 680 News.
680 News Time 8:07. Education Minister Stephen Lecce announced today that remote learning will be made available for all of the next school year. 680's Mark Douglas has those details.
Online learning will not only still be here for Ontario students in September, parents will have the option for their kids to take all their classes online for the entire school year. Education Minister Stephen Lecce.
So we are very much targeting September with the aim of ensuring it is safe, it is more normal as the extent humanly possible.
Education critic for the opposition NDP, Merritt Stiles, says Lecce seems to have simply given up.
I think that's really sad. And at the end of the day, I wonder if what this is really about is, again, Doug Ford trying to find ways to save some bucks here, because that would mean fewer teachers and fewer supports in classrooms, and that is very unfortunate.
Lecce would not commit to getting students back into the classrooms at any point for the remainder of the current school year, saying the advice from Dr. David Williams has not changed. At Queen's Park, I'm Mark Douglas.
Canada is getting an extra shipment of COVID vaccines this week as the Prime Minister tries to provide clarity after mixed vaccine messaging from federal experts.
Whereas I get it, he's tired.
Of COVID vaccines
He's been completely out of sight and off the grid right now, and he shouldn't be. We're the biggest province in the country, and by now, given the GTHA, well, no, the GTA in Toronto really, we've been locked down since last September. I don't even know what month we're in right now. I've lost all perspective, just like you, as to when we were locked down. I just know that if you're in the Toronto GTA area, it has been months. Businesses have been shut for months. And at some point, it would be really nice, even though, yeah, we're in the third wave, to get some notion that there's leadership happening, that there are plans being made, and we didn't get that today. We don't get it any day. Saskatchewan got it today. Saskatchewan's not much better than Ontario right now. They've got high caseloads. They've got about the same number of people vaccinated, yet they tabled plans, Scott Moe did, to reopen today. They're not open today, but a recovery plan and when they can reopening, and they put out this very neat and concise 3-point reopening plan. Of course, it's reliant on vaccine rates, and it really doesn't start to get underway until the end of May, which is a bit disconcerting. But at least they're laying out a plan. And so where's our plan? Are we just expected to sit here and wait and hear nothing about any kind of plan of, I don't know, when we can expect some tidbit of normal, like maybe when we can go and get a couple of outdoor activities? You know, will our kids be going to summer camp? Is that even a possibility at this point? Or do we break the kids' hearts now? I don't know. Will families be able to go camping? Is that even on the possibility radar? Will we be able to bubble at all with other households like we did last year? I don't know. What I know is we're going into the only season that counts in this country for most people, which is summer.
Oh, I forgot my fucking water bottle.
It's short. We grip to it like
Yeah,
it's the last bastion of all things important. We crave it. It doesn't last long, and right now, no one has a clue as to what it might look like. And I don't care if we're in the inferno. What I would like to see is someone come forward with some leadership and guidance as to maybe measure some expectations. Because I don't frankly understand much of it. I do not understand why people can't play golf. I don't play golf. I'm useless. But my God, I'll fight for your right to play golf, because why shouldn't you? There's no risk. Why can't you play tennis right now? I don't play tennis, but I don't play well. There's zero reason why you can't play tennis right now. I've got private courts out back of our house. They're not my courts. I'm not a member. But I'm watching them. I see them. They're just right out back. They're all done up neatly. They put them together. The nets are all up. The lines are all painted. Looks great. But there's no balls. There's no rackets. There's no joy. It's just open and waiting. to get people on the courts. But why can't we allow a small number of people to play? Because they're nowhere near each other when they do. I mean, my God, if you can't get a safer game than tennis going, like, what can you do? There's zero data showing tennis is a great spreader of COVID, by the way. And the same with golf. So why are we waiting? I mean, these are the activities that can be played safely. You don't need to be anywhere near the other person to enjoy it. Yet you can't do any of those things. Archery, nothing. Archery, nothing. But you can go to COVID or Costco. Maybe we'll just rename it COVID Costco. I mean, you can go there. Maybe you can get a game of tennis going in the aisle. Not much room to play, though, because people are all in your way. It doesn't make sense to me. Costco, good. Golf course, bad. It's like those in charge are going out of the way to find any way they can to stop outdoor activities. And they shouldn't be. What they should be doing is bending over backwards to find out, like, how do we open that basketball court so some kids can shoot hoops so that they can keep busy? Why can't we put up a few nets so that people can play beach volleyball? I mean, we know that kids are suffering epic levels of mental illness. People in general are suffering a lot of mental health issues right now. That's what happens when you're locked down from being human for months at a time. You start to lose your mind. And so those in charge should be absolutely going out of their way to find any way that we can get outside and
33% of people
enjoy
infected with
outdoor
COVID
activities.
develop
It
things
can't
like
just be all
psychosis and
about
dementia
active
and shit.
Toronto where you can get on a bike and ride on the road or walk or run. There's just no reason why we should not be able to have tennis courts and golf courses and basketball. That should all be open. You know why? Because there's no data to suggest that COVID spread is happening in any of these places. There never has been data. So, if we're going to stay in this state of lockdown, either tell us it's like a permanent thing or open us up so that we can get back to some kind of normal. Because this is getting a little crazy. And I don't know what the number is. I don't know what the magic number is. In wave 2, Dr. Williams said, well, we'd have to get down to cases under 1,000 people. We're nowhere near that. We are nowhere near that. They say that we won't be down to 1,000 cases till at least June. Are you telling me we can't golf and tennis or play shoot hoops or whatever till then? People, that won't fly. That will not fly. My point being, is that no one in charge is taking charge or offering a vision or any kind of clarity as to what does life look like in the next couple of months. It's just stay inside, don't do anything. Okay, well, I'm willing to do that if you give me a carrot. Show me a carrot. Give me something to work towards. You got to give some hope, for God's sakes. And then what about outside the GTHA? God, I feel for those people. I feel for you in Brantford. I feel for you in Sudbury. I feel for you in Timmins. Why are you locked down at all is beyond me. But why can't they play golf? Why can't they play tennis? Why can't they play lawn bowling? Whatever. They don't even have cases. And they have to suffer the way we all have to suffer? I mean, it seems obscene that they have to needlessly suffer because those in charge in the big cities can't get their act together. We need some clarity. And anybody hoping today to get clarity, certainly parents hoping to get clarity on what's happening with kids in schools. I mean, this is like, why did Mr. Lecce come out today? I do not understand. I was thinking, okay, maybe we're going to find out that the school year has been canceled. Or maybe we'll find out what the plan is for summer school. Or maybe we'll find out that they're going to start school early. I don't know. I was hoping for something. And instead, we got an announcement about mental health supports that could have been sent in a press release. I mean, the best mental health we can give kids is getting them back in school, no? I would say that. But when Mr. Lecce was asked, will kids be going back to school this year? Or maybe September? Here's what we got.
As our vaccine rollout continues, we have every reason to be hopeful for the next school year. But we have made these resources and investments, taken these steps because we recognize that keeping our schools safe must be our top priority.
Blah, 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 blah. Hope, 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 hope. Investment, 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 hope, hope, hope. Sorry, hope's not a strategy. And parents have lost hope, I think, a long time ago. I think the kids have lost hope. And so the Ford government, I mean, they don't have any clue that the kids aren't going back this year. You can't tell parents at this point, really? Because at this point, I think a lot of parents are saying, to hell with this. I'm not going to torture my kid anymore, and I'll just fold it in for the season and get a tutor, whatever. But you've got to give some kind of guidance. It's ridiculous. So you really think we're going back for May or June? Come on. I can tell you right now, because I'm not, I'm Kreskin-like. They're not going back, or we would have heard that. And 6 months out, we're already now hearing, well, they could be out longer. We might have to have them online longer. I'm sorry. If we're having conversations that 6 months out, kids might not be going back in the fall, then we are backwards. Then we are failing. Because that conversation shouldn't be allowed to happen. We should be busting our backs to get these kids back in school as soon as possible, give them some kind of normal, start rebuilding their education, and getting them back what they have been robbed of. And we hear none of that. I will give you one bright spot, though, today. I was happy, at least with this. At least late today, LTC home, long-term care homes, announced the easing of restrictions. And so residents, because they're vaccinated, they get to enjoy some hugs. Some of them will be enjoying sunshine on their face, should it ever come out, for the first time in a year. Can you imagine? A year being allowed to go out and get fresh air? Maybe some human companionship. I mean, when you think of what these people have been robbed of, locked indoors, away from any human companionship since last March. And that is criminal. So I was very, very pleased to see that. Oh, they can eat a meal together, maybe play some shuffleboard, maybe play a game of bridge. Those things matter. And I'm glad to see it's happening. But man, did they ever pay a price, and one they should not have had to pay. But all I'm asking for is just give us some straight talk. I think that's just all people want, is some straight talk and measured expectations. Not seeing it, by the way. But I'm happy to be challenged. All right, when we come back, we will talk about this and many, many of the other day's stories. Lots going on today. We'll do that with our counterpointers. And then shock of all shocks. Guess who wants another trial? Let's talk about this. Derek Chauvin. And I'm waiting to hear the reason why. This is totally predictable, but nonetheless. We will talk about why that case is not going away, and we'll do that right before the 9 o'clock. So stay with us here. We got our counterpoint next. I'm Alex Pearson on point, and this is Global News Radio.
Time now for a check on the roads with a look at shopper traffic. Here's Ari Rabinovich. And earlier troubles on the
benefits and fair wages. The plant near Dundas and Lansdowne.
now clear. All the delays through here have eased off.
Jeez, can you fuck off, Chomo?
This is 680 Bears.
That's on Sterling. The chocolate factory just went on strike. Your candy bars.
You love your mom as much as I love mine.
Out of the picture, precious metal is trust.
What they just said while I turned off the radio 4 times was the Unifor's walked off the job in support of whatever. And they're talking about the chocolate bar factory on Sterling by Lansdowne, and doesn't matter.
In times like these, shouldn't your money work even harder?
None of it matters, right?
We think so. That's why at Duca Credit Union, you get no-fee checking accounts. You also get high interest on deposits and investments, and low mortgage rates. Plus, you get to share in the profits. That's the Duca difference. And now, get rates as low as 1.59% on a 3-year fixed mortgage when you switch to Duca. Find out how at mortgage.duca.com. Do more, be more, achieve more with Duca Credit Union. Conditions apply.
680 this time, 821.
Traffic and weather together on the ones. It's Carly Donahue.
This report is brought to you by the 407 ETR. We have delays right now. Actually, not delays, sorry, construction on the 407. If you are heading onto the eastbound 407, there's no access from Warden or Kennedy. And the ramps to Kennedy are shut down as well. So watch out for that. That's all due to maintenance. If you're headed Toronto bound on the QEW over the Burlington Skyway, there's 2 right lanes blocked off for construction, no delay. And then on city streets here, Ontario is shut down both north and south southbound from Central Parkway out to Burnhamthorpe, and that's due to a fatal collision. So that closure is going to be in effect for a while. Other than that, we have no delays on any of the major routes and no other collisions to discuss. 407 ETR is added to its all-virtual award-winning customer service team with live chat to help drivers on and off the road. Visit 407etr.com. Now the forecast. Here's Natasha Ramsahai. 8 degrees tonight, still cloudy, and some drizzle, some mist, some fog. That's going to be in place overnight into tomorrow morning. So damp conditions to start with that 8 degrees, and then 13 in the afternoon with some sunny breaks and a gusty northwest wind. Thursday morning, waking up to sunshine. It's going to be an increase in cloud type of day with some late day showers and 13 degrees. And then Friday, partly cloudy skies with a high of 12. The overnight lows Wednesday through the weekend, anywhere between 2 and 4 degrees. So a risk of frost is there as well. Tonight down to a low of 8 degrees. Right now in downtown Toronto, 11 degrees and overcast 10 at Pearson.
Coming up at 8:30, we are following breaking news out of Mississauga tonight. Tragedy here in Ontario where a 5-year-old boy succumbed to his injuries in hospital after he was struck by a vehicle while riding his tricycle while with his father. It happened near here in Ontario, and Burnhamthorpe will have the details for you straight ahead.
Thanks to 680 News.
What's your guest think of Tim's new vanilla cream cold brew coffee?
It's like smooth, that's the bar.
Velvety smooth. Tim's new cold brew coffee. Enjoy trying it. Enjoy describing it. It's time for Tim's at participating restaurants in Canada.
As the pandemic continues,
It's never been more important to get trusted information.
for the latest on the COVID-19 numbers, the vaccine, and everything you need to know
We're here for you.
on your radio, online, and on your device.
This is 680 News.
The City of Toronto is launching a pilot project focusing on dog poop. 680's Moment Crashy has the scoop and joins us with more.
The City of Toronto is providing you with the perfect place to put your pooch's poop. Next time you're out walking your dog, if you're near one of the 10 pilot project areas, you'll see one of the trash bins specifically designated for your dog's defecations. Lisa Duncan with the City
How do you make them
Management
crap in the
Services
garbage
says they
can?
found almost half the stuff thrown into street trash bins is dog dung.
45%
And they're going to turn it into natural gas and run the garbage trucks on it.
organic waste, and 99% of that is dog waste.
So through this pilot, the hope is to divert a significant chunk of organic waste away from landfills. But it's not just about being environmentally conscious.
And it's turned into RNG, so that's renewable type of energy.
The waste is turned into gas that is used to fuel up the city's garbage trucks. You can see a full list of pilot locations at 680news.com.
That's real shit.
Despite COVID restrictions, Pride Toronto is ready for 2021, releasing its digital programming.
Give them a call, 416-736-3636 or pizzaville.ca. We've got our Tuesday regulars, Kelly Harris, Principal, Harris Public Affairs, columnist and former Director of Legislative Affairs for the Ontario PC Party. And we've got, of course, Lauren Honickman, who is our Global News Radio legal expert. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good evening, Alex and Kelly. Good evening.
Not really.
Lauren Honickman.
And I know why. For Kelly. Yeah. Well, you know, I thought it was bad in Ontario, and then I turned over my shoulder and saw the breaking news out of Alberta. They are shutting down hard, which is, they're turning into Ontario. But, you know, very clear, and I was just kind of rambling on about it for the last 10 minutes. You know, it became...
This goes at we're talking about Oshawa off camera, like just... Oh yeah, Oshawa, you see them smoking an apple. There's big on the corners. Fucking hell, this guy knows.
More. I don't think we're asking for much, but I would like, like Scott Moe today put out a 3-point plan of what they plan to do, when they plan to open, how they plan to do it. We have gotten nothing of that here.
We have no planning whatsoever. And I was talking to another lawyer today. I hate golf. I'm like somebody who was forced to play golf, like when I'd have to go, and I hate it. But I will say it makes no sense if somebody put, you know, the proverbial gun to my head. Of course, like we're doing these types of things here that make no sense whatsoever. And then today, I hope we're going to get into it. You know, the thing for me was the announcement from Lecce, our education minister today. No plan there. No plan. Nope. I mean, so you're right, Alex, and we're looking down the road and there's nothing's happening. Nobody's saying anything because all we get is mixed messages every day. Communication. Kelly and I were talking about this before we came on. as it's terrible to say, but it's an F, a failure. At all levels of government, but certainly here in Ontario, and there's nothing, and that's why people are depressed. They're depressed for many reasons about it being in a pandemic, but oh my goodness, there's no planning. You don't see anything, and what they do, they shut things down, and you go, what for? What for? Doesn't make sense.
Well, it makes no sense. And I was really hoping that Lecce would come out and say something today. I don't even see the purpose why he came out, other than to make an announcement about mental health supports. Terrific. You know what the best mental health support we could give to our kids, Kelly, would be a plan to get them back in class.
Well, Alex, I got to tell you, from day 1 or 2 of public relations class when I was in journalism school, but all the way up, and definitely this was drilled into us when I worked for the Gordon Campbell government, especially during our response to a pandemic out there, where I was, head of the provincial information officer. Can't get a job here in Ontario working for Ford, but I could do that anyway. If you fail to plan, you will plan to fail. It's very simple. They cannot put a plan together because they are running at the issues. They are not talking to anybody outside the Premier's office. They're not talking to anybody outside. They're not getting the advice that they need to be getting. And they are what I was saying this to Lauren. It's like they have beat syndrome. You know those reporters who follow only one topic for their entire career, and you don't understand what they're saying? It doesn't mean they're wrong or stupid. It just means you can't understand. I believe
they read the press release and that's all you get.
Well, it's the insularness of the Premier's office. I don't think they're talking to people. I don't think they're explaining themselves properly. I don't think they're presenting a plan. I don't think they're sitting down with media and having technical briefings with them as to why they're doing what they're doing so that they can promote understanding. These are all things that should be done. And it's not happening. It's not just them either. I got to say, Trudeau's not doing it. Horgan's not doing it. Kenny's kind of doing it. Mo's doing it.
Mo's doing it a little bit.
But, in Quebec, they're not doing it. So it's not just Ford.
No, it's not. It's not just Ford, but
that's what life you're living in right now. So
that's right. And what do we always hear, Alex, when we get these ministers who are making, like today, Lecce doesn't come right out and say, well, yeah, it's remote learning to the end of the year. He goes, well, we'll have to wait to see what Dr. David Williams tells us. And I go, pardon?
God help us.
Did you really say that? Are you serious?
Sorry to quote a former guy Peter Cormos, it's paralysis by analysis.
I know. As soon as you mentioned Williams, I just, and I'm sure he's a lovely man, but man, I lose all hope. As soon as I'm like, well, we're still following that guy's direction. I mean, the guy's walking, I don't even know where he's just in his own planet. But it saddens me. I'm watching my child every day slip away into this other, just complete depression. And I'm trying to teach him. I can't do it, and I know that other parents have it much, much worse, and I wonder how they're doing it. And I just think the fact that there's no plan in place to even try to get some normal back in kids' lives or everybody's life, even just a little bit. Like you can go to, something in the summer, but if they think we're sitting in these houses all summer long, I got another thing coming to them, because when you lose folks like me, Kelly, it's not a good sign.
Okay. And I think one of the problems again is I think they're just gun shy now, right? They've done so many things that have really exploded in their face, where they've been criticized, and I think they just don't know. And today I heard about the camping associations coming out and saying, are we going to be able to open? Are we can we have camp this summer? And they don't know.
We have to. How can you imagine not again another summer of no kids going to any kind of camp?
Yeah. Well, they don't know.
Now, remember these people going on and on about how kids don't get sick, and everybody knows kids don't get sick. Remember that.
Internationally,
this is your fault.
That's right.
Where you're going.
Yeah. So maybe if I fly to India and come back, then I can go. Well, maybe I can go to camp into another country. I don't know. At this point, I'm thinking maybe I'll just go stay in Connecticut with my sister, because my sister's in Connecticut. No masks. Kids are going to camp. They're back in school. She doesn't understand it. She's like, what do you mean you can't leave your house? They're so beyond this that like we live in two different planets. But, you know, welcome to Canada. All right, let me pause it there, guys, and then we'll dive into a couple of the other issues, including the blame game in long-term care, and then we will talk about the bad messaging day of the Prime Minister and why he has completely kind of lost the plot when it comes to vaccines. But we'll do that in round 2 of Counterpoint, brought to you by our good friends over at Pizzaville here on Point and Global News Radio.
That's pretty much the name of the game here tonight and into tomorrow morning with some drizzle to start at 8 degrees. Now, low pressure is pushing out to our east, and that puts us on the back side of it. So the winds out of the northwest will be on the gusty side, up to 50 kilometers per hour. And as the day goes on, we'll get into a greater chance of some sunny breaks with a high of 13 degrees. Tonight, down to a low of 8 degrees.
Downtown Toronto right now, overcast and 10 degrees. Same conditions at Pearson. 680 news time, 8:32.
Breaking news from Mississauga, where a family is in mourning tonight. A 5-year-old child has died after being hit by a vehicle while on his tricycle.
680's Karen Seolan joins us live with the very latest. Karen.
Scott, the 5-year-old boy, was trying to cross the road on a bike when he was struck by a red Jeep at the intersection of Hurontario and Elm Street. Peel police say the vehicle was traveling northbound on Hurontario just before 6 tonight when the child was hit and dragged along the road for some time. The boy died of his injuries in hospital. Constable Akil Mukin says given how busy that area is, police are hoping witnesses can help piece together what happened.
The officers that first responded, they indicated that they spoke to some people that certainly witnessed this incident. Who are certainly almost confident in saying that, again, given how populated this area is with condo buildings, that perhaps other people witnessed it, but may not yet had the opportunity to speak with our investigators.
Now, the boy was with his father at the time of this tragedy. Police did not say if the child was wearing a helmet. Investigators still have to interview the driver. Are you fucking stupid? But say right now, nothing indicates impairment. Reporting live, I'm Karen Seolan.
Oh, so the kid wasn't drunk?
8:34.
This is their response. The kid should be wearing a helmet on a tricycle. Where's the law say that?
Pearson Airport. We're learning from Toronto Public Health that there are 13 confirmed cases of the virus and staff members at the hotel.
This is why I keep yelling at you people for driving on the sidewalks. You cannot see a child, and you're driving on the fucking sidewalk, where the kid is told to stay and cars won't hit it. You drive on the sidewalk.
Not open to the general public. Toronto Public Health says it and the Public Health Agency of Canada conduct.
So if you kill a cyclist in Ontario, you get a $150 fine. I'm not joking. And then these idiots they started trying to hit me with their cars on purpose around here. And if I made no indication at all that I was going to step off the curb, they would keep creeping, gas brake, 90 degrees around the corner, then scream at me that I'm an asshole and take off because I didn't jump in front of their car. And I've been hit and almost did a whole bunch of times. Same asshole.
Education Minister Stephen Lecce says parents want to have that choice.
Comes down to their perception of superiority.
This spring. We will not take risks with your child as we respond to high rates of COVID-19 in the community.
But the NDP education. Why aren't the ventilation systems turned on in the schools that have them? How come 4 out of 5 schools don't have them, or whatever the fucking number is?
The government has actually been shopping around a permanent online learning plan to stakeholders.
As for the rest of the
stakeholders, that's Google and Zoom, right?
To getting kids back into classrooms.
Hey, can you tell us about the teacher doing whatever he did in front of the kids the other day?
The government has not changed in the matter.
I'm Mark Douglas.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Canada is going to get 1 million more vaccines this week than initially expected. 680's Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney has more.
Canada's now getting a total of 3 million doses of vaccines this week as the Prime Minister announces a fast track of a delivery of 1 million.
And they might be contaminated. They may or may not be delivered. They may or may not get used or allocated as they see to be equitable. And it won't be effective against variants. And mathematically, you cannot vaccinate the population fast enough to stay ahead of COVID-19. They said variants, but COVID-19, the basic, you cannot vaccinate them fast enough for this to work. Especially since you keep giving vaccines to people with no immune system, but not the workers who work with them. You got people using the same gloves all day long thinking they're keeping themselves from getting sick. And then they do shit like that too on top of it. Everybody wants to take a shortcut with other people's safety. And they've all got the superiority thing. They think genetically it will take out the weak people. And then when they hear it's infecting more black people than white people, they think that's evidence of that. But they're actively spitting in our faces.
24/7. Fully vaccinated residents and their caregivers can hug and touch, and recreational activities and communal dining will start up again. Seniors advocate Laura Tamblin-Watts says it's about time.
We were hearing people.
Yes, but what do you say about the ventilation systems? And how come 95% or 70% of the residents are vaccinated, but not the PSWs?
It is something for them to live for.
How come the PSWs don't have to wear masks? This is like the flu vaccine. If you get the flu vaccine, you don't have to wear a mask. Well, the spit droplets that come out of your fucking face, because white people, especially doctors, they always try to tilt their head up when they always direct their nose and mouth at me. Want to know how I know that? I can see up your fucking nose and down your throat. If they get an influenza shot, they don't have to wear a mask. Well, now if you get the COVID thing, you don't have to wear a mask. Really? How is that going to help anything? How does it help the people with compromised immune systems?
Zeke says the conference.
Well, we think that this is the bigger health issue. Okay, but you haven't answered why you're purposely taking risks with my health. Oh, because you're not as likely to survive. Really, I've survived 500 years of biological warfare against every part of my family. But I'm less likely to survive. You have actively tried to kill me repeatedly. But if I end up in the hospital, oh, he's not likely to survive. The same people that tell me, we're not concerned about your physical health. We're only concerned about your mental health. While I'm having sickle crisis in the hospital, and they refuse to help me, knowing I have sickle cell and refusing to tell me. They drew my blood hundreds of times in 26 days. Because there has to be documentation every time they give me a medication. They have to write down, oh, he's doing this and that. It's time for your medication. I'm not on a timed medication. Oh, well, you need to calm down. I'm not doing anything. And then they have to draw blood to back up this. So there's evidence chain for that. But they won't tell me I have sickle cell.
Either way, there is danger to the public.
Well, absolutely. Anyone who stops someone for reasons unknown, it is obviously paramount for us to identify that person as soon as possible. And
why don't you find out what Buddy did to get stabbed up? Do you want to know what Buddy outside almost did to get stabbed up? Coming at me again, spitting at me, screaming at me that he's going to piss, spit droplets coming out, and swinging a metal pole at me. But you're going to spend all day chasing this guy. You know who they arrest when there's shootings? The people that get shot. And they just did this the other day. Because it's the easiest place to look. Police in this jurisdiction will not look in the most likely place to find something. They will look in the easiest place to look over and over. Torrey Stafford. The body was 300 meters from the road. Of course it was. It takes 2 minutes to walk that far. They searched 50 meters of next to the road 3 fucking times. Or something like that, but did not search 300 meters because it was easier to search the same area over and over again, knowing that nobody would dump a body that way.
Gas price update. Andrew predicts the price will rise. They said at midnight to $1.30.9.
The Danzig Street shooting, who they arrest, the target of the shooting, Jane Kreba. Within seconds, they had 250,000 text messages off the cell towers. And that's how they figured out who participated in the shooting. She ran across Yonge Street traffic towards a shooting in between and got hit. So there's another person who got robbed like 5 minutes beforehand, Eric Boateng. The police said over and over and over, he's going to help us. He's a witness, blah, blah, blah. Him and his lawyers didn't know. He's not a witness to nothing. He doesn't know anything. And he got shot for that. He's dead now. Because the police know best about everything. Go try to find that article on the internet. It's been wiped off the internet.
Yeah, pretty much what I thought.
Kelly, I mean, now we know why Stephen Harper.
No, so somebody did some sort of pedophilia type shit with the kids in school yesterday. Not one of these white people will talk about it. But the kid gets killed. I guarantee the odds that it's a child of color are through the roof where it happened. Was he wearing a helmet? Because having a car on top of your head and being dragged down the road, a helmet's going to help you. And there's no law that says you got to wear a helmet on a tricycle, stupid.
And they're clearly not. You need to align your messages. This is not controlling the message. This is making sure the message supports the best understanding of the people that you're delivering it to. And
because you niggers need to get over your hesitancy.
Me.
Remember, for 6 months they went on about hesitancy. Then it comes out, oh, you're not giving the vaccines to them. You keep short supplying all the fucking black neighborhoods. All right.
Either. And communications is a profession, and you need to work the two together and let the.
No, it's not. No, it's not. This guy's an idiot. If communications is a profession, what the fuck did you just say, dog?
To be saying, oh yeah, all of Canada's rushing out to get that one vaccine. You know what? You're really making a mistake. It's sheer. Communications is a profession, and you need to work the two together and let the specialists in the communication side of things that understand how dangerous it is to be saying, oh yeah, all of Canada's rushing out to get that one vaccine. You know what? You're really making a mistake. It's sheer stupidity to allow that kind of message to get out, and it's dangerous.
3 hours patterned after a similar system in the US. You text your postal code to a number, and it sends you back information.
They're going to keep on about this.
Vaccination sites.
Download.
Angie is one of the co-creators, and he says it's already helped more than 100.
Remember, for 4 fucking years, iHeartRadio. This is an iHeartRadio station. They still don't stream on the internet properly because of this app. They've got some promo thing with some app.
He says they are hoping to extend the program to all provinces and territories eventually to try to.
Because Rogers is charging you 35 cents every time you send that text message, or $1.95 or whatever.
83. At the Business Center, I'm Chris McCusker. This is 680 News.
As Desjardins agents, we take the time to get to know you, because the more we know, the better advice. So like the things, like it was.
Well, I wouldn't let my sister take it. I mean, come on, you're thinking that's stupid, dude.
That's right. Come out and say if one vaccine has no risk and the other vaccine has a tiny risk, you will make your own decision. But both of them are great, you know. And you'll make your own decision. That's what we call informed choice, informed consent. But you don't come out and say what they did. Yes, like the things, like it was.
Well, I wouldn't let my sister take it. I mean, come on, you're thinking that's stupid, dude.
That's right.
Like what?
You may want to take it if you're, you know.
The issue is a lot more than that. The issue is Canada is not set to have critical mass right now. According to the University of Toronto, that far right-wing leaning institute, they say that it'll be August 2022 before we have critical mass in Canada. That means school closures. That means lockdowns. That means people losing their jobs. That means more and more.
3 to 5 years minimum, according to the UN, the Chinese military, and the federal government of Canada.
This group that is supposedly in charge is saying avoid getting vaccinated with this vaccine.
I know.
Potentially pushing the vaccination, the critical mass date, even further back. That is, well, quite honestly, that is
the elimination threshold.
Well, yeah. But there was one tiny piece.
So just remember, it's called the elimination threshold. They're not calling it herd immunity now. They're calling it critical mass. You know what critical mass is? It's enough nuclear material to boom. That's what it means.
You know, he actually commented on something that.
So I've made the 4th be with you post today, so that was good.
There you go. He'll be on with me at 9:18. I'll give him your regards. But nonetheless, we're all in this together.
No,
we're not. Thank you very much.
Our pleasure.
All right, that is Kelly Harris, and that is Lauren Honigan bringing a lot of joy and sunshine to our lives here on this May 4th. And I'm not telling you any Star Wars jokes, because I don't care. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about a trial that is
there we go.
Over and about to get restarted again. Derek Chauvin requesting another trial, and gee, I can't imagine why. We'll talk about that, and a juror who should have known better. That's coming up. Stay with us here on Point on Global News Radio.
And now time to go out and take a look at the roads with chopper traffic. Here's Ari Rabinovich.
Still looking good across the board on all the highways. At least everything's moving well and trouble-free. Some construction.
The world-class line of tires that places safety and performance first and values second to none.
We go on road trips again.
Suspended heavily in this game for what?
I do want to hear this thing about the trial, sort of.
It was part of a larger neighborhood, which was named after a wealthy black section in Harlem.
Ooh.
By the 1940s, Sugar Hill was home to some of the most prominent
Harlem
figures
in
of
North
Los
Holland,
Angeles.
the
Doctors,
Netherlands,
entrepreneurs, oil
one of my
barons,
grandfathers
even
used to.
Hollywood stars like Gone with the Wind's Hattie McDaniel. On screen, she may have played a housekeeper or an enslaved person, but here in Sugar Hill, she hosted extravagant soirees in her sprawling.
This time someone's crashed into that set.
This is where they big up how the black person who bowed down and bootlicked got all this great stuff. Sure they did.
Much drama.
Rutherford Falls, all new back-to-back, Thursdays on Showcase, also available on Stack TV.
You've been listening to us on the AM dial for decades, but we know parts of Toronto get in the way. So the two big revelations yesterday. Stop cursing the streetcar wires. Download the Radio Player Canada app.
So the two big revelations yesterday.
That's how we should sound all the time. Once you have the Radio Player Canada.
So this company, which is not a part of a cell phone conglomerate, wants you to use cell phone data all day long to listen to their thing. The company that owns a cell phone company wants you to use digital FM. The 680 News is on digital FM, but this one's not. It's fucking backwards. None of these people have any fucking hustle.
And it doesn't pay a dividend.
Really? Because I researched gold, and it actually has averaged over 8% a year since 2002. That's a lot.
5 million doses now in arms. Dr. Kareem Kurji is York Region's top doctor and says vaccines are making a difference.
I think I'm optimistic with respect to getting out of the difficult situation that we've been in for several months.
But he warns we need to continue following the rules and that hospitals are still in a precarious position. 2,167 people are in Ontario
There's no more
hospitals being
capacity.
treated for COVID. This follows 2 days in a row we were below 2,000.
There's no more. We can't take another surge. There is no capacity. There's no air ambulance pilots. There's no empty ICU beds. Oh, they might seem empty, but they will fill up with people who won't come off them unless they die. So,
Sequester the jury and compel Maurice Hall to testify. Hall was with George Floyd on the day he died and told the court he would invoke his Fifth Amendment rights if called to testify. Nelson also asked the court for a hearing to impeach the verdict on the grounds of jury misconduct, saying they felt threatened or intimidated and did not follow their instructions. Mark Remillard, ABC.
we're white and we're more superior, and we know those niggers didn't do what they were told because they're scared, and they didn't take the correct racial bias. They went for the pro-black racial bias, which is wrong, and we know that because we're white and we're supreme, and they should have sided with us. So in Canada, any court ruling, the jurist can set it aside. You get convicted of murder, and the judge, justice of peace, says, I'm going to set aside this verdict. You walk free. There's nothing anyone can do about it.
Get started
Double
today.
jeopardy.
Thank you, Flour.
With all that's going on these days, let good food help make life a little easier. Get $80 off the #1 meal kit in Canada and free.
So we can cross-contaminate all your food for you.
in the court was such as to make
So we
one
can
wonder
cross-contaminate all your
if
food
the
for
judge
you.
would pour tea during the afternoon recess.
This crowd had shown up not only to see the Hollywood stars, but also to take in the legendary NAACP lawyer Lauren Miller, who argued for new members only.
Stop guessing, start knowing. 640 is powered by Global News Journalism.
We don't need help from white people. Say that to me and I'll fucking juke you, just like it's 1964 all over again. So didn't Raymond Washington get killed by a stranger?
Alex Pearson on Global News.
And Tucker Gomberg. Tookie could not have done the murder he was convicted of.
Executive producer joining me now on some of the day's stories that aren't getting talked about. This was not going away. The Derek Chauvin story, because he's asked for a new trial. And I can't say we didn't see it coming, but the reasoning is that one of the jurors was seen wearing a Black Lives Matter T-shirt, which then sparks the question about his impartiality, and why he was allowed on the jury. And the phrase on the shirt said, "Get your knee off our neck and Black Lives Matter. And so this to me is not surprising.
We saw this coming before the trial began. We knew that this case against a cop out of Minnesota was going to be appealed, and the defense was going to look for.
So I'll make this very simple. Because traditionally, white people, white cops don't go to jail or get punished ever for killing black people, you can make the legal argument that the case law says this guy should have been found not guilty, and therefore the jurors made a mistake. And I don't remember how it works in the U.S. and Canada. They would set aside the verdict. This is all administrative bullshit, arbitrary.
Misconduct case.
Don't get us in trouble.
Everybody comes in. No, and I won't. That's where I'm. That's right. I usually don't. I try to catch my words. I really do want to watch what I have to say here, but right. Basically, we knew that this was going to be really hard for us to be impartial because it involved two young girls who were developmentally delayed and two older guys. And ultimately, we found the people guilty in the case, but we really did check all of our preconceived notions at the door. It took us a long time to get through that, Alex. So, the T-shirt says to me that,
remember when the big story was that girl in the feeding tube? You're
going to get that in a room of jurors. I just have a hard time believing that this was something that wasn't addressed in that jury room. And I know they only deliberated.
Well, no. It should have been before than that. No, when you're building that jury, first of all, if I were the defense, I would have demanded judge alone. Yeah. Like judge alone. It's much easier to convince one judge than 12 jurors or 14 jurors. But the bottom line is,
she's just revealed something about herself.
Do you have?
She's literally just revealed something about herself. She's fantasized. What if it was her in that position? I would do this and I would do that. I would do this and I would do that. White supremacy.
Jury.
Women always get a pass on this. Women always get a pass on white supremacy to the point where they don't even hide it. You hear how that popped out?
Well, there's a good juror. He'll be impartial.
Okay, let me go two routes on.
And by the way, there are other grounds for appeal too.
And you heard what she said. The defense, because it's easier to convince one person than 12. Hold on a second. It's a unanimous jury to convict. You realize how deeply she's thought about this.
I mean, you're supposed to be judged by a panel of your peers. There are going to be people in the state of Minnesota who believe in Black Lives Matters. And they're going to wear T-shirts. So that's point number one. Now, point number two, Alex, I'm going to say this out loud. I think we should get rid of all juries. I do.
So I think now, if I insist I have rights because I'm alive, I'm part of a political terrorist organization, according to these white people.
The law. You would
have perpetuated half a dozen times they referred to Black Lives Matter as an organization instead of just a state.
Judges understand the law much better than any jury member can. And you have to have the law very carefully.
Oh, the jury doesn't know how to understand what's read to them.
Judges should just.
They're too stupid. Your peers are too stupid.
I really don't understand in 2021. I understand why juries were brought in. I just think at this point in where we are in law in Canada, we don't need them. Judges would be able to do this, and in America as well, the case that we're talking about based on the states. So
5 times in the last year, a Native person's been killed, and nothing's happened in court because the judges decide they're not guilty.
Platform, it has just become very, very
in Canada, we could handle this. Yeah, you could kill off niggers and Indians, and the judges would side with you.
And not turn to opinions, and it's very difficult to find a jury these days.
It is, and especially with 24-hour news cycles everywhere, right? Like in stateside, you've got, 5 different options the TV can be on all the time. You're going to see stuff. You're going to hear
5
stuff.
5 channels in the U.S.?
I heard you earlier in the hour. I'm sorry, I'm going to steal your segment here for 30 seconds. I heard you doing the wah, the Charlie Brown thing, you know that?
Yeah.
I just got to play this for you earlier.
And if you're thinking internet, this idiot just said there's 5 channels in the U.S. Well, if you're thinking internet, just remember, Canada got wired for internet way before the U.S.
This is what he had to say about everything we're going through right now. This is it.
What is he, a turkey?
I just think that's how I feel about everything we talk about these days. So
think of this guy's reasoning that in the U.S., because there's 5 channels, you would know too much about the case to be a juror, but you'd be too stupid to understand the basics of the law that will be fully explained to you in court. They had 80 some odd jurors apparently selected, or they were numbered that high. But you cannot find a jury for this. Right.
Laws, and we also, we make an oath. We take an oath when we become police officers. Therefore, we're breaking our oath when the government tells us that we have to do things like martial law. We'll talk about that next. Stay with us in the Narrow Tool after that. On Point on Global News Radio.
I'm going to point out again how stupid the white supremacists are, and police officers, because it's perfectly legal. They fought for 24 years in the Supreme Court. It's perfectly legal to discriminate based on high IQ. So average IQ is always 100. It's not, between 92 and 100. No, it's not. The barometer is set at 100. The marker is set at 100 is the average of whatever population you're testing. If you test above 100, you don't become a police officer. That idiot just said something about the police being involved in martial law. What's martial law? Military. Where do the civilian cops come into it? Right, to confuse the issue some more. Confuse the issue some more. Buddy's out there screaming right now. More.
State practices ward in black families searching for the suburban dream.
No, they weren't. They were just proving they could have the same thing as white people. Because you said they couldn't have it.